Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you doing? How you doing?
Yeah, doing
Sorry
all
about
right.
that.
Are you having a lovely, hot, sunny summertime?
Oh, it's ever so warm here. And this is quite a summery movie, right? It's warm, muggy. It's a very muggy movie, I would say.
Yeah,
And
weather for
not,
the weather for beautiful hikes, bit of camping out, lovely time.
yeah. And by muggy, I don't mean the way like some pockets of the English folk would use it, like muggy as in to mug someone off.
No, you mean as if wants to rain, doesn't it? Ever so sticky, horrible.
Oh, I wish it would rain. I wish it would.
Be a relief
If it
actually, good for the garden. That's what they say.
it'll be a relief actually. I would collapse in the garden like and I say this every time, and I never get sick of it. I'll collapse in the garden like when he escapes prison in the Shawshank Redemption. I'll collapse just like that. I'll never get bored of
That's a
saying that,
relatable
Andy.
metaphor. Whoever you meet in the world, they'll know. Apart
How do
from
you
Michael
feel?
Owen, who's only seen three films.
Can you name them? Cool Runnings is one.
Don't know.
He just ain't got the he just hasn't got the attention span for
What
it.
about that crippling gambling addiction, Michael? If you just watch a film,
Did he? Oh, Michael.
pretty sure he
Bloody
had a
hell.
spot of bother
That's
with the
true, isn't it?
gambling.
Whack a film on. Delete that Bet365. Other betting apps are available. Delete
Yeah,
that app
get a PSP
and
or something, Michael. You good for it?
PSP. He'd love that.
Play
Um,
the entire Assassin's Creed series back to back. You won't have any
but
time for gambling.
he's strictly the kind of man, I believe, who would only like to play a game if he could play as himself. So all football games,
As a footballer, he's one of the
yeah,
few people that would have that option.
exactly. Yeah, I feel like he's the only. Well, have you ever heard his little story when he talks about growing up? He made everything into a competition, like throwing a bit of paper across the room. He'd do it, and he's like, and I'd do it because I had the confidence to do it. I knew I could do it. His household sounds like absolutely a shit show to have grown up in. Everything would have been a
Unfortunately,
competition.
my knowledge of him extends to the fact he is one of eight footballers I know, and he looks a lot like the soldier on the drawing of Medal of Honor Rising Sun. Used to call it Michael Owen Rising
I'm
Sun
trying to
when I was
picture
selling
it now.
copies of that in game.
I'm trying to picture it now.
Give it a
You,
googs.
you
Agreed.
give it a googs. Anybody want to buy Michael Owen Rising Sun? Andy, we've actually sold no copies of this since you've been calling it Michael Owen Rising Sun. So can you please stop that? No, I
So I
shan't.
might have said that, and that's exactly what I said. I fucking shan't. Um, I'll tell you what,
If
everyone, tangents for days. If this is your first episode, this is what you can come to expect. But we also nominally talk about a lovely horror movie from time to time, like a new release
yes,
this week.
a brand new release. If you're tuning in and you're thinking, hang on a minute, it's just these two. The last three episodes, including this one, we've advertised special guests. Well, those guests haven't been able to attend,
It's
and
the summer. They got their holidays.
I'm saying it's not because of us. It's not anything we've said or done. It's not that our aura is putting them off in any way. If anything, I'd say it was the opposite, drawing them in. But for some reason, uh, schedules have not allowed for any guests to join us, which is handy. Not handy, sorry, which is kind of lucky in a way that me and you are both free, because otherwise,
Yeah,
solo podcast.
couldn't do that. You wouldn't. Who? What a nightmare. But no, we've still managed to get it going. But you are competing with people on their summer holidays, people that want to go out and sit in a beer garden, people who tell you what, BBC can't run a schedule when the football's on. That everything gets moved around, not the Horror Hangout podcast. You sometimes lose a
Exactly.
guest because there's a bit of football, but we're there every week. We don't let you down.
Because of a
You
bit
don't,
of
you don't pay
football.
us 90 quid a year. You could if you want to get on Patreon, but we don't make you. We don't send a van round.
The van,
Yeah,
the
the TV license
Andy
van.
Conduit van. Andy Conduit Turner van with his face emblazoned on the front like a Thomas the Tank Engine character. What am I talking about?
Like the Green Goblin from Maximum Overdrive, but
Oh
me.
yeah. Oh my God. Is that a film to cover in the future on
I
this
reckon so.
cocaine fueled Stephen King horror movie?
About a
Yeah,
kid
why
getting
not?
smashed to death by tinnies.
Oh, is that what happens?
Yeah,
I don't
vending
think I've seen
machine
it. A
batters him
vending machine. Oh,
at a
Jesus.
baseball game.
any other famous instances of a horror vending machine you can name off the top of your head?
Um, Off the top of the dome, you got one.
I got one. 28 days later, when he gets an old bag of Fantas, he gets them all out the vending machine and he walks around. That's his first weapon of choice.
Does he gets a big bag of tinnies, doesn't he?
Big bag of Fanta, and he does batter a priest to death.
Bashes a
And
priest
that's
with him.
and that's before the bloody zombie stuff kicks off. I'm joking, of course. Don't be silly. Um,
You have to be
I,
careful though. Actually, imagine that. Imagine that you've just escaped the infected, and then you think, oh, and then your can goes off in your face.
oh
It
yeah.
ties her in your eyes.
He does proper chug down a Fanta in that, and I think it's the best advert for a Fanta I've ever seen because it made me crave one. First time I saw it, second time I saw it, third, fourth, dying for a Fanta in arm's reach at least. Not maybe a diet one. Um, that was it. That's the only example of that I've got, Andy.
Just
Unfortunately,
those two.
there's bound to be more.
Just
Is
those
there like
two tin related deaths.
a killer vending machine that like closes its little flap on you?
Get your arm stuck. Like it's a final destination waiting to happen, surely.
Yeah, arm stuck and then it collapsing on you, right?
Snap your arm off.
Snap your arm off. That'd be horrible, yeah. Um, okay. But today, as you may or may not know, because you've clicked on this episode and you've looked at the title, we're talking about In a Violent Nature, which is a new slasher movie.
Yeah.
Just released in cinemas in the UK. I think maybe we got it a little bit later in the US, and it is a Shudder movie, so I'm assuming it will end up on that streaming platform sometime soon, sooner rather than later. Uh, yeah, and this was something that ever since I kind of read about it, I think we mentioned it a few times on the show in terms of like a trailer and maybe the news of that. I think maybe you were the first one to mention it, Andy.
Yeah, I think it did well at the festival circuit over in across the Atlantic. It's a Canadian film, so I assume it debuted in Canada. Um, it's been getting a little buzz since it first
A
started
little
screening
bit
over
of
there.
buzz. A
A
little bit of
slasher
buzz.
film from the killer's perspective.
Yeah. Now, what have we had that resembles this in any way before? Obviously, we get killer POVs in pretty much every slasher movie, right? We get like and obviously we've had Predator with his old thermal vision.
Vision
Uh,
and hearing people go, "Ruh, ruh,
Terminator.
ruh, 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 ruh."
Is he dry shaving with a little bic over there, a little bic razor? Yeah, he
You're in
is
the jungle,
actually.
mate.
Yeah.
Don't even bother. No one's gonna be like,
Excuse
in the
me.
jungle. You haven't no, you're not clean shaven.
Yeah. Obviously, the Terminator's POV, you could kind of say is similar, but this isn't like a straight up POV. So I think there was some miscommunication with something because I've seen a few reviews where they were thinking it was from the killer's POV. I guess similar to that. What was that movie called with Sharlto Copley in it? Hardcore Henry, where it was literally like
Hardcore
a
Henry.
POV, a
Yeah,
POV shot.
yeah.
Um,
The
that would have been more of a gimmick than this. I think this is a lot more.
It's basically the camera follows the killer the whole time. So all
Yeah.
those times when a Jason or a Mike Myers is just milling about on their own and you don't see them until they sneak up on the characters, this time you're the one doing the sneaking up. You see him
Mm.
beeping the car horn and then walking around the house and things to that effect.
Yeah, we see every little method to his madness. But yeah, how did Jason? So in the game Friday the 13th, we do a lot of like fast travel, like teleportation as Jason. I think it's supposed to represent how he can get around so quickly or appear in certain places. What do you think other slashers are doing in their downtime? What's old Mickey Myers doing in his downtime? Oh, he's good at just sitting about, isn't he? Waiting.
Yeah, sits about, doesn't he, in his drain. Sits about in his drain, reads
Sits
his
about.
reads his drive-in theory because obviously he hasn't got much time to practice, so he just has to be really up on the
That's
mechanics of driving a
true.
car.
How is he so good
Um,
at that? How is he so good at that?
the
Is he
auto
just
automatics.
That's true. Stop and go.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like a dodge 'em, basically.
it's just like a Dodgem, exactly. That's good advice for anyone going to the US anytime soon. Of course, if you are in the US, you'll know, of course. Um, but yeah, in a violent nature, I've seen some mixed reviews of this. People saying it's like kind of boring, it's a bit slow. Other people saying like it's pretty brutal and exciting to see something from this. It was again another film that's been released and similar in a way to like Long Legs, something that I'd built up a picture of in my head and it didn't pan out the way I kind of expected it to. And I
You're
think
saying that you had a picture of this film in your mind and you never knew it would be so wrong.
in my mind palace. Is that a lyric?
It is. I
Oh,
believe it's from the Boyzone film that was used in the Mr. Bean movie.
the
Picture
boys
of
are.
you.
I've got a picture of you in my mind. Is that it?
That's it. That's the
Is
one.
that it?
It is.
Every single part of that sentence that came out of my mouth, then I didn't know where it was going to go next. That was raw, literally literally the rawest memory coming straight out of memory bank.
Your raw
There's
dogging
something. There's
boy band
something
lyrics.
raw dogging boy band lyrics. I would say that there's a very important piece of information that I've forgotten in order to keep that in my head. And I've not said that song out loud since. Which Mr. Bean film was it?
It's the first one, I think.
First one, yeah. The
Not
best
Mr. Bean
one.
Goes on Holiday. The
The
one with
best
Rex
one.
Whistler's mother. The
Yeah, he
painting.
does.
Dirty.
Oh, I do love that though. Again, that's
Um,
another thing I like referring to all the time. Like, oh, just get a bit of Whistler's mother. Come on, rub it out, draw it on in biro. It's fine.
um, yeah. So yeah, I was. I think a lot of things we've seen come out recently. There's the two ways that things going. I have been on the camp of I've been disappointed by franchise movies for the last couple of years. But I think whenever new things come out, um, and naturally people want them to take off, so there's been a lot of hype, and I think that's what drives the negative backlash in some cases. So you had Skinnamarink, scariest thing ever. Honestly, you'll sick yourself to death. No, some people think it's boring, and
Yeah.
then we went forward. We went through even these last few weeks, right? We've had Long Legs. Some people go, that's not a horror movie, it's like a murder mystery. It's still really creepy though, isn't it? It's still a horror movie. Again, maybe a little bit overblown with people going, honestly, you'll never sleep again, mate. If you go and see this film, only if you want your life to be ruined because you'll be
You will
too scared.
shit. You will shit your pants. Literally, I'm not saying that metaphorically. You will defecate in your underhosen. You
Yeah.
will
That
fill your knickknacks with.
yeah, and it's like Heat magazine, that's what they say. And then it's like, the song by the Crash Test Dummies, and they tell a story about a boy whose hair goes bright white and he couldn't quite explain it. That'll
Yeah.
be you if you go and see this film because you'll be so scared.
I'll tell you what though,
Paranormal.
that is effective for me. When someone's hair goes white or get a nice white streak, rogue style in their hair from being overly scared or going through something traumatic, that's affecting.
Yeah,
That's
that you
effective for
know you've
me.
been scared. You know what we should do one of these days, Ben?
No
We
going
should do
back.
the Village of the Damned. All those kiddies have got white hair in
Oh
that.
yeah, they all have bleach blonde, little bleach blonde barnets. Um, okay, so moving on from in a violent nature, we'll get
More
back to it,
about
of
in a
course.
violent nature shortly.
Yes.
You want to do a
So
little feature today?
in terms of horror news, this is kind of horror news, but we're also going to make it into a little feature. So the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards recently opened its poll, and you could vote online. Unfortunately, it's done and dusted, but we thought it would be nice to talk about what me and Andy voted for in each of the categories. Then you can tell us if you agree, disagree, or if you're indifferent. You listen to this podcast indifferently. You haven't got an extreme opinion one way or the other. You're
If
just
you'd have voted
chill.
for none of them, yeah, I didn't vote for any of them. I'd vote for something else.
I spoiled my ballot. I did. Yeah, I want another tick box. So I just punch the screen in. Yes. Um. Okay, so we're going to talk about these. So I'm not sure when the results will be out. They did just close the poll, so count those little things up. It's online, so it should be fairly easy to do that. And let's have a little look who won. So obviously we've covered most of these films that I guess we voted for in this particular lot of awards. So in terms of the categories, I'm going to read them through. I think they're actually, but maybe in. Yeah, so I think they're in alphabetical order currently in this list. So, first of all, achievement in non-fiction. And the categories, the nominees were Amityville, an origin story, the Boulay Brothers, Dracula, Enfield Poltergeist, Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, Sven Gulli. Did you see any of this?
I watched Amityville Origin on BBC iPlayer, and that's
You
the only one I'd
did.
seen, so that's what got my vote.
I voted for that as well as the only one I've seen, even though I didn't find it very interesting. I was a bit bored. I think I only watched one episode. Does that still count?
Second, it's secondary too. Have you seen the other BBC series with Oh, is it Sean Alaria, the most soothing voice on radio, who, does like a late night show, which is very dangerous
Oh,
because she does a late night show with a beautiful, soothing Welsh voice when you're trying to stay awake when you're driving on the road
oh
late at
God.
night. She
Yeah.
did a like a haunting show on the BBC, which I would absolutely recommend.
Oh. So what? But I don't think in this you could have added
You
your
couldn't
own.
you couldn't have added her own vote.
Wow,
So
frustrating,
that
isn't
was
it?
a superior BBC spooky
S-
story, but I voted for the Amityville origin.
Spooky story. Okay, best cinematography. The First Omen. I Saw the TV Glow. In a Violent Nature. Infinity Pool. And Poor Things. Now, Poor Things appeared in a few categories here, and I'm sorry to say, even though I absolutely love Poor Things, I didn't want to vote for it in any of these categories because I don't think it's a horror film. Andy,
Agreed. What was
uh,
this for? Best cinematography?
best cinematography. Yes,
I voted Infinity Pool, I believe.
I think I might have gone for The First Omen, possibly. There were some visuals that I quite liked in that. Now I'm saying it, I can't think of any. I saw the TV Glow was pretty good as well. I'm pretty sure
I've
I
not
voted
seen
for The
that yet.
First Omen now. Infinity Pool, yes. Best costume design. The First Omen, Immaculate, Late Night with the Devil, Lisa Frankenstein, Poor Things. Now, First Omen and Immaculate are kind of the same.
Yeah.
I think I may have gone for Late Night with the Devil.
I think I went for Immaculate on that one. You're right, you are right. Close run thing between that and the first Omen, but I really wanted to reward that film that had really taken a struggle to get made for the passion that had gone into it.
Hmm.
And like you, I think I could have quite happily voted for Poor Things in this one if it were an open non-genre piece. But again, I kind of thought it was a slightly out of place entry in, a horror
Mm.
coded set of awards.
Yeah. Okay. Best creature effects: Evil Dead Rise, Five Nights at Freddy's, Infested, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Mafregan.
Oh, now did which way did you go? I might is a moment in the old memory palace trying to
Pretty sure
remember.
I went to Evil Dead Rise. I thought a lot of the the practical effects were good, and also in terms of creature effects, great transformation of some characters, but also that final character amalgamation of stuff was very, very gruesome. Last Voyage of Demeter was mainly CGI. Infested, maybe it was so good you couldn't really tell what was CGI, what was
Spiders.
real spitters. Freakin's just a bloody mask on someone's head, isn't it?
I think I
But
was torn between because I really do like the uncanny valley work they did with Mithrigan and the movement and that nice robot. Um, I think I went Evil Dead Rise though. It was a couple of weeks since I did this, but I think it was Evil Dead Rise that edged it for me.
yeah. Okay, best director: Brandon Cronenberg, Infinity Pool; Lee Cronin, Evil Dead Rise; Danny and Michael Philippou for Talk to Me; Demian Rugna for When Evil Lurks; and Arkasha Stevenson for The First Omen.
I
I
went Talk to Me.
I went for Talk to Me as well. So I think is a debut feature, which I believe it is debut feature.
Yeah, debut
I think
feature.
anyone in that list could easily be a winner. I think Akasha Stevenson did a lot of great stuff with The First Omen. When Evil Lurks is very effective. Evil Dead Rise is great. Brandon Cronenberg always on point. But yeah, I went for Danny and Michael Philippou, and obviously they've got Talk to Me too coming up as well. Um, Best documentary feature: Dario Argento's Panico, The Legacy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Satan Wants You, Shark Exploitation, and We Kill for Love. I only saw two of these.
I didn't see any of these because you're the documentarian of our
Well, I need
podcast.
to go and watch that Legacy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre then. I think Dario Argento's Panico was probably the most well-rounded documentary out of the two I saw. The other one was Shark Exploitation, which is fun. I wouldn't say it's like out and out the best out of those two. Um, Best First Feature: The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, Birth slash Rebirth, It Lives Inside, Skinamarink, and Stop Motion. Only saw two of these, and I love stop motion, so that was without a doubt the winner.
Yeah, stop motion. I have also seen two of them. Wasn't such a fan of the other ones, so stop motion was
Yeah,
the one for me for sure. And that isn't to say that it's to be damned with faint praise, like oh, it was the one I liked best. I thought
yeah.
stop motion was a phenomenal film.
Yeah. Um, Best international movie: The Coffee Table, Exhuma, Infested, Hesera, the Bone Woman, and When Evil Lurks. Only saw two of these, even though I've got the coffee table on the list. But I went for. Do you know what? I went for Infested over When Evil Lurks in the end.
I can't remember whether I did or not because When Evil Lurks was really good, really effective.
Yeah,
But you know me and the bloody French cinema, don't you, Ben?
sure do.
Comes on and I say to myself, ooh la la, what an excellent
Ooh
movie.
la la.
Um,
Um, I just think the ones that Infested have had a better like long lasting effect on me. When Evil Lurks, I think at the time in the immediate aftermath, I was like, wow. But I think since then, I don't know. Um, okay, let me know if you need me to tell you any of the films that these people are actually in, if that would help. But best lead performance: Tobin Bell. I'll just say it actually. Saw X. David Dasmalchian, Late Night with the Devil. Caitlin Dever, or Dever, No One Will Save You. Nell Tiger Free, The First Omen. Catherine Newton, Lisa Frankenstein. Lupita Nyong'o, A Quiet Place Day One. Emma Stone, Poor Things. Lily Sullivan, Evil Dead Rise. Sydney Sweeney, Immaculate. Sophie Wilde, Talk to Me. Now, this is difficult because I feel like, obviously, in that list, Emma Stone, that performance, Oscar winning. Oscar winning? Yeah.
at very least Oscar nominated. I
It's
haven't
the
caught up with it.
person who gets to do the absolute most in terms of like all of those actors there. She's, you know what I mean? It's a gargantuan performance in a gargantuan film. Probably not fair to say that. I liked a lot of what Nell Tiger Free did in the first Omen, especially the stuff that was kind of like a bit like what film am I thinking of? Not Phenomena. Why has it gone out of my head? The film that's getting a remake soon. Possession.
Possession.
That's it. The film. I think that was great. Um, Caitlin Dever didn't say anything. That was kind of the point, wasn't it? I don't know if it was a note perfect
It was a
performance.
really good physical performance for sure.
Yeah, Lee Sullivan, great. Sydney Sweeney. I genuinely think David Dasmalchian had the most heavy lifting to do out of secondary to Emma Stone. He probably had the most heavy lifting to do. I know a lot of people weren't entirely sold by that performance, but for me, it was the performance which confirmed I really like this guy. I would watch him in anything.
Yeah, it was a really good, strong lead performance in Late Night with the Devil. I think though, ultimately I came down with again, rewarding a really memorable performance from a young and upcoming performer. I gave it to our lead, and apologies that you've said too many names in a row. I gave it to the Talk to Me lead as well,
Sophie Wilde.
Sophie Wilde, because if you think about some of
Yeah,
the pieces, she had to be victim, she had to be possessed in various
yeah,
points
that's
as
true.
well. Really solid range
Mm,
in that film. Like there's moments that are funny, there are moments that are really harrowing, and that's a film that really stuck with me. So I gave it to that one. But there isn't a bad call on that list. And again, you can't overlook like an Emma Stone performance. Um,
yeah,
but Poor Things is one with slightly, you know, we've already talked about it being slightly off genre even, but
yeah.
I
I
think
don't think you'd even. I know it's like a bit Frankenstein-y, but at the same time, like I
there's
wouldn't
no
say.
Frankenhooker. Um, and I think that's the big thing for me as well. Since seeing and enjoying the film, I know some of the more negative reviews of it, nothing to do with the performances, but the way the story is represented were from people that had read the book. A friend of ours did it, and then Karen read the book and felt
Oh
similarly.
yeah.
I've since read the book
Oh, you have.
and can confirm they are spot on. Like the meaning of the character in the film is almost completely at odds of the volume of agency and understanding that that character has in the book and what you're supposed to take away from her experience. And
Mm,
now it's sort of made me reevaluate the interpretation that is used in the film, but still a great performance.
yeah.
But yeah,
Um.
I went on the Talk to Me lead for that range.
Best limited release: Cobweb, Ennis Men. I saw the TV Glow, The Outwater, Suitable Flesh. I saw all of these.
Yeah,
I will say, oh, bloody hell, it's tough. It's tough because I did like I saw the TV Glow, but like the first half. After that, Ennis Men was like Cornish horror. It was very, very atmospheric. it perhaps and like the Outwaters as well verges on minimalism in a way that Skinamarink does. So perhaps those two are out of the running. It's probably suitable flesh, just for Heather Graham and
I
Barbara
gave it
Crampton's
to
performances.
I gave it suitable flesh without even that amount of hesitation, Ben. I loved seeing that live. I think the performances were great, genre defining, over the top things. Maybe I'm giving a little bit of it to the experience we had watching it at that big screen Fright Fest
Yeah,
last year as well, but
opening
really
film.
atmospheric. I thought it was great. I think that's my favorite limited release film of last year.
Mhm. Okay, best makeup effects: Abigail, Evil Dead Rise, In a Violent Nature, Talk to Me, When Evil Lurks. In a Violent Nature, for one kill in particular, could probably take it, but I think in terms of what I said about Evil Dead Rise creature effects, I think best makeup effects kind of
Yeah,
falls
I went for Evil Dead on
into
this
that
one.
as well. Yeah, and there's a lot of good stuff in When Evil Lurks and as well, and Abigail, but oh my God, and Talk to Me as well, just because of the
Yeah.
all of the
All
undead.
great choices. Like there's no one that you think, oh, what are you on about? But yeah, I think I
Yeah.
went I went Evil Dead on that one.
Best score: Evil Dead Rise, The First Omen, Godzilla -1, I Saw the TV Glow, Infinity Pool. I mean, Godzilla minus
Godzilla
one
-1. Yeah.
took what was already an epic like main theme or recognizable theme and just dialed it up. And it was just like a huge, monumental, bombastic, like terrifying score, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, best screenplay: The First Omen, Infinity Pool, Late Night with the Devil, Mafregan, Talk to Me. I'd probably go for Talk to Me just because I think of everything it achieved in it. Like what you said previously, it managed to balance that humor, make us feel comfortable with these characters, and then take us on these absolutely terrifying journeys as well. And I was fully invested in the lead performance, and I think that was a lot to do with a lot of the dialogue she had.
Yeah. I'd be with you on that one. I will give a special note to Late Night with the Devil as well, though. I feel that Late Night with the Devil, you could convert that to stage and turn it into a stage play. And I'd
Yeah,
be
yeah,
really
that's true.
interested to see that. I think as a standalone script, it is a really powerful thing that doesn't rely upon a
Mm,
lot of visual aids. I think you could adapt that further, but I would have gone for Talk to Me as
yeah.
well as an
Bet
original concept and story.
Absolutely. Best streaming premiere: No One Will Save You, Sick, Totally Killer, VHS 85, Where the Devil Roams. Um, I think I went for No One Will Save You because I think out of all of them, Totally Killer, VHS 85, I was a bit like like I kind of liked it, but it wasn't amazing. No One Will Save You, I think, was the only one which I was like recommended to people, and it was probably like my favorite film that week.
Yeah,
I
I
said, "Look,
think no one
that's
will
how many
save
films
you.
I see. That's how many films I see. Favorite film of the week. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
no one will save you. I felt the exact same, and I think it was a perfect storm for a streaming movie. Like I didn't see anything about it before it came out. All the first I heard of it was, "Hey, there's this film called No One Will Save You. It's got a really interesting approach to it. Go and watch it." And then being able to just,
Mm,
grab your computer, find it on Disney Plus and put it on and be like, "Oh, what's this
yeah.
all about?" That was a really satisfying watch.
Yeah, kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? In terms of it, just like, oh, it's out now, right? Here we go. Best supporting performance: Dave Bautista, Knock at the Cabin; Joe Bird, Talk to Me; Nicolas Cage, Renfield; Mia Goth, Infinity Pool; Catherine Newton, Abigail; Bridget Lundy, Payne, I Saw the TV Glow; Dwayne Perkins, The Blackening; Dan Stevens, Abigail; Alyssa Sutherland, Evil Dead Rise; Alicia Weir, Abigail. I Mia Goth's performance is probably the most memorable out of all of those because she's just
Yeah.
like loud and brash and English. She's actually English in that, which is
Talks in a
surprising.
normal voice. You can't say that, Ben. You say that nowadays. They take you and they throw you straight in prison. Um,
They'll put you straight in prison, mate. Even if you just say you're
just
English.
say English.
It's
Um,
either that, or it was either that or Alyssa Sutherland because I think in terms of a deadite mummy, that makes it sound like I wanted to be my mummy. I don't. Maybe in non-deadite form. But I think that was very effective as
yeah,
well.
really great performances, but I'm probably with you on that choice. I think Mia Goth is a real force, and again, unenhanced by by effects, unenhanced by those other things, manages to be really compelling, really terrifying at points as well, and really deliver like an unsettling performance. But again, there's
Hmm.
no one on that list who I didn't think was fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, I think I know where you're going to go with this, but best television series: Chucky, The Fall of the House of Usher, Interview with the Vampire, The Last of Us, Yellow Jackets. Now, I've only seen one, so I can only give it to The Last of Us, which I think was a great adaptation of the game.
The
Can
Last of
be.
Us was a great series. As I'm sure you predicted, I did go for Chucky on this because I think it's a great up and up horror show.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Best video game: Alan Wake 2, Dead Space Remake, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Resident Evil 4 Remake, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I tell you what, Ben, controversial. I might have to, you know, got to put my hands up on this one. I gave it to Alan Wake 2, even though I have
Yeah.
barely scratched the surface of playing. I've installed it, Ben, not played it very much yet, but just
I've installed it.
everything I've seen about that game, I think is phenomenal. I'm really interested in the story. I can't wait to play more of it, but I couldn't, in good conscience, give it to. I've no interest in playing asymmetrical multiplayer games, and
No.
I'm a big fan of both Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space, but I'm not giving my one vote to a remake of something which I played and enjoyed in 2010.
Well, I had to. I actually had to. Andy, it was the only choice. So I haven't played Alan Wake 2, haven't played Killer Clowns, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I like the sound of it, but again, another multiplayer. Couldn't do it. It was between Dead Space and Resident Evil 4, and I feel like Resident Evil 4 developed what was already a great game enough. Whereas Dead Space, the remake, I feel like it just looked better, but it played pretty much the same. Resident Evil 4 was, I played it more than once, so I clearly did enjoy it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm in the midst of enjoying it whenever I have a chance to have a game now, and it is great, but it is also a game of the past. I had to give it to Alan Wake 2.
game. I think Alan Wake 2 probably. I mean, a lot of people have been saying Longlegs has got a lot of Alan Wake 2 vibes. So interested to see what that is like when I get around to it.
See how Alan Wake would have got on with fighting against
Mm.
Longlegs, shining a torch in his face.
Best wide release movie. This is the final category. Abigail, Evil Dead Rise, The First Omen, Godzilla Minus One, Infinity Pool, Late Night with the Devil, Mafregan, Satanic Hispanics, Talk to Me, and When Evil Lurks. I've seen all but one, and I will give it to Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah,
Now I know I said about Poor Things not really being horror. And look, if you wanted to say that about Godzilla Minus One as well, I would also agree. However, I want to be consistent, and I named it as the number one film on my roundup of 2023. So
yeah.
I've kind of got
I
to
put it to you, Ben, if you need justification.
put it to me.
Um, would you say a monster is a staple of a horror movie?
Yes.
You know, the king of the monsters is?
Uh, it's not bloody Godzuki, is
It's,
it?
it's not actually, it's Godzilla.
Oh yeah, thought so.
So, yeah. And I think we
Godzilla.
we talked about it at the time. Godzilla minus one was my pick as well. It
Ah,
is, and I think if you're thinking of the Hal Emmerich Godzilla film, that is like a family creature feature. If you're thinking of the 70s and 80s Godzilla, where he is like a friend to so his little kid who he's friends with, like
yeah,
that isn't horror Godzilla, but Shin Godzilla and then Godzilla from Godzilla minus one. It is a
yeah.
horror. It's a horror slash disaster movie. It is
Hmm.
and that is a really tense and harrowing and intense experience as well. So I don't think
Yeah.
there's no quibbles from me that Godzilla minus one in particular deserves to be on a horror list. And it
Don't
was,
quibble.
and it was one of the best films I saw last year.
Hmm.
Easily, easily.
There we go. There we go. Then that's our Fangoria Chainsaw Awards picks for in terms of
Will we have picked
nominations.
the winners? I don't know.
Who knows? We'll see. Probably, Peter, we're important in the realms of these things.
Yeah, we're
Uh,
tuned in.
Let us know what you would have voted for. Or if you disagree with our choices, just say, what are you
Don't
talking about?
don't come at
Poor
me if you don't think
things.
Godzilla counts though. Get out of town. I don't want to hear
Get
it.
out. Get out of town. A tiny bit of horror news to add on to that before we move on to other things. Um, Paramount Plus have released new images of Apartment 7A, which is the prequel series. Oh wait, no. Is it a series or is it a film? Good question. Coming to terms of it live on air. I think it might be a film, Apartment 7A, the prequel to Rosemary's Baby, directed by the director of Relic, not that The Relic, Natalie
Just
Erica
Relic.
James, just Relic, and Julia Garner, you might recognize from things like Ozark, is the lead. She is playing. Oh, wait, who is she playing? Someone else, right? Obviously not Rosemary. An ambitious young dancer. It's because she got the bloody pixie cut, kind of a pixie cut, maybe a little bit longer. That's confusing. She plays an ambitious young dancer, Terry Giannoffrio. She dreams of fame and fortune in New York City, but after suffering a devastating injury, I bet that injury was done on purpose by some of these Satan worshipping old
So
people.
it's Satan worshipping old people. Unless, can you imagine if it's the story of that bloke that had the acting job who goes blind off camera? I've got the job. The other fellow went blind.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I forgot
If
about
it's
that.
just a series about some old
Yeah.
people blind in the sky.
Blinding people. So yeah, obviously, do you know what? I watched a prequel to a very famous horror movie this week, and I genuinely think people just don't know what to do when it comes to prequels because, and this is what I'm worried about. The same thing. Essentially, it's going to be the same story, but a little bit earlier in time. Do you know what I mean? Just like the same story, but it's just like I feel like that's what this is going to be. And I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I hope not. I hope we get something a little bit different. But of course, you get caught in that weird little between a rock and a hard place where you're like, I want to make an original film based on an existing property, but at the same time, people want to see the things that make that existing property good. So it kind of needs to almost follow the same beats as that, thus making this film not really very good at all.
Talking about the Exorcist believer.
Yeah, The Exorcist Believer. And I did read Rosemary's Baby maybe last year as well. And it just felt like a universe that you could pluck so many different stories from. So if it's just exactly the same woman having a baby, then these demon worshipping old people go, "It's our baby now." It's a no, sorry, it's not our baby. It's a devil baby, and it's our baby
Yeah.
now.
Drink this tea that makes you really ill. Um,
There
yeah.
was there was a series though, right? I felt like there was a series
Yeah, I'm
that's
not
already
aware of any
happened.
follow-ups to Rosemary's Baby.
There was a series that I never actually saw. There was a mini series, a 2014 mini series, which starred Zoe Saldana. I thought so,
Oh wow.
and it's not a sequel. It's just an adaptation of Rosemary, the Rosemary's Baby story. So, um, yeah, I mean, check that out. I never did, but you know,
Is there something cynical about that? Like, talk about art and artists. Are you thinking if you're remaking Rosemary's Baby, we could become the main version of this because the person that made is an horrible bad bloke.
yeah, yeah, ain't an horrible
So
bad bloke, are
so
you,
we
director? We're gonna query that before you make this remake to make sure you got any.
are you a
Any
nicer bloke than the person that made the
Yeah,
original?
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm lovely. I'm lovely. People love me. That's what they say.
Um, yeah.
Or she.
So interesting. Like I'll
Yeah.
keep an eye and see what comes out. Like some of these things, though, you're right, Ben. I think do you have to do you have to buy into the name? Is the name the thing? Like, because again, I've mentioned this before when we talked about the Omen remake and The Exorcist. The thing is about the devil and Jesus and all their extended cast of characters, all public domain, mate. You can make anything about them.
Mm. Yeah, that's
It
true.
doesn't have to be the same. It could just be about any old devil baby. Just give it a different name.
Let's see the devil baby grow up. Let's see the devil baby go to.
Become Sam Neill and live in the White House.
Wait, what the hell? Sorry, the person acting alongside the titular character Julia Garner is Jim Sturgis, and I didn't reckon in the picture. I thought it was what's his name, Baron von Zemo. Is that his name? Uh, yeah, Daniel Bruhl.
Daniel Bruhl.
Well, yeah, it's not him. It looked like him though. Okay. Apart from that, also, by the time this episode arrives, you may be able to go and check out the Terrifier free trailer. There's a teaser trailer coming out on Wednesday, which will be Wednesday the 24th. So this is when this episode will arrive. So go and check out the teaser trailer for old Christmas themed Art the Clown doing horrible stuff to people. Almost too horrible stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, come on, mate. Just
How hard is the marketing going to go on how many times you're going to be sick in this film?
I reckon it'll say something like, don't eat for 2 weeks prior because you will chunder up every single last morsel in
I'll
your
tell you what,
stomach.
we're going to give £2 from every ticket to St. John's Ambulance because they're going to have to be outside looking after you when you have to go out of the hospital too poorly.
Uh, uh, uh.
We've sent every cinema extra big bag of sawdust to mop up all your sick.
Sorry, what I just did. That was a bit offensive. It was almost what Donald Trump did that time when he was making fun of somebody.
Yeah,
It
that's all
wasn't
right. I
supposed to
didn't
be
take it
that.
that you were
I'm just
you were scared to your core by
I'm
watching
scared to my core, but it was very similar to I don't want to be attributed to anything. Old Dozza. No one's ever called him Dozza. I'm starting it
was
now. No, yeah, that's not an endorsement of him either. That's the opposite. What's the
um
opposite of an endorsement?
condemnation.
That's what I was going to say.
And just to make sure, listeners, Ben isn't getting political. He hates everybody over the age of 65. He wants nothing to do with
Uh,
them. He ain't got no more time for it.
Trying to think of someone proper old that I do like. No, I think you're right,
Santa,
actually. Yeah.
but he's
Nah,
magical, so the age
he's a
doesn't count for him.
no, no, no. The age doesn't count. I don't think. No. I was gonna say Mary Berry, but apparently she's hard work. I've heard. I'm not even joking. Real life, she's hard work. I was gonna say David Attenborough, but I reckon he's got a dark side. People give him a free pass for being lovely. Dark
Just because
side.
you like the animals, eh?
Just because you like the animals, I bet you've got some sort of terrible opinion about something. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Uh, there's probably loads of like horror. Actually, John Carpenter.
Yeah, he's
I love John
nice.
Carpenter.
Fine.
Nice. Likes playing
I'll,
games.
I'll, re I'll
Likes getting
readdress it.
stoned.
Ben hates most people over 65.
Can you just take off the after 65, over 65 bit and just say Ben hates most people?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't.
Confirmed.
I actually love a lot of people. However, in the grand scheme of things, of how many people there are on planet Earth and how many people I love, it probably is that
You
I
love
hate
less than
most
one.
people. Yeah, exactly. There we go. So yeah, looking forward to this. It will return in cast, including Lauren Lavera. Now, we spoke to Lauren Lavera at Fright Fest Glasgow. Now, if I was a better podcast editor, I'd slip in a little clip right here, right now. I'm saying it like, and so if I remember, here's a clip. If I don't remember, just get on with your life. All right.
Over to you, past Ben.
Oh God, no, 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 that made me feel like I've got to do it now. Lauren
Thanks,
Lavera,
Ben.
we asked her. Thanks, Ben. Shut up, Ben. We asked her a little bit. So what did we say? We said something about her being a scream queen. We said, oh, bloody Art the Clown. I didn't know if we knew it was taking place at Christmas at this time. So we went Art the Clown at the Halloween.
He's
Art the
back
Clown in
amongst it,
this.
isn't he? Yeah. I don't think we asked her too much about Terrifier 3 because obviously we knew that, one, there'd be limited things she could say. She's not going to say, well, I'll tell you what, Andy, Ben, don't pass this on to anyone. But Optimus Prime's in this one as well. Like, it's she's not going to be able to tell us that.
My head went through Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and I like how you just went
I
straight
wanted the
to
big surprise.
Optimus Prime.
But obviously, what we wanted to do was, as well, for respect of the film that she was there to show, I think we talked a little bit more about the well, um,
Yeah. It was a
while she
very
was there.
quick, it was a very quick flyby interview, wasn't it?
Yeah, there
Go and
was
listen.
PR people saying like, "Go on,
Shut
you've got
up.
dinner in 5 minutes it's on the table. You gotta go."
Your chicken nuggets are ready. Your chicken nuggets are ready. They're getting cold. And it's
I'm
just
gonna
me
feed
and
them
you
to the
just stood
dog.
there going, me and you just stood there going, can we say hello to you, please? Even though we've got lots of experience talking about horror films and interviewing people, for some reason I went, no, I didn't. I didn't do that. I
He
could have.
was no,
I didn't.
listen, listeners. Ben was a consummate professional. He went up, shook her, put her there, put her out there, shook her hand, a good firm handshake. He was really in
Good for a
control of it.
handshake. In fact, you've hurt me fingers a little bit. Bloody hell.
No,
Yeah, I didn't do
he was
that.
dead good.
I didn't overcompensate for anything in any way, which I'm sometimes worried about.
I'm just
Try
trying to
and be
look,
nice. Don't be
see where the
too
well
nice.
is. I'm gonna look see where the well is streaming because I have been
Talking
trying to keep things up.
talking about marketing saying you're going to be thinking. I think The Well has been distributing sick at various screenings as well because
You
you might be
say it's
sick. You might be.
been
You might be.
distributed
I don't know if it's been distributed, but any screen they've been distributing sick bags at the screenings. Listen
have
to that. What
they
I said. Don't just listen to the word distribute and ask me if I said distribute again. But the sick bags. Do you know what they're for?
putting your popcorn in,
No. Just in
being
case you're
sick in.
sick. Just in case you're sick when you see Robbie Williams
Robbie
himself turn
Williams, the
up.
scat man. Ooh, what?
Robbie Williams. Now that will only make sense if you've seen the film, because we said that one of the characters looked a little bit like Robbie Williams in what?
And Rock DJ.
When he takes his bloody skin off. That was terrifying back in the day, mind. For little old me, whatever year that came out. Taking your bloody skin off, terrifying. Anyway, it's on the Fright Fest Glasgow episode. If you go back, look at the time codes, you will see me talking to Lauren Lavera for probably about a minute and 20 seconds, but
Yeah. In
still
case Ben did edit,
exciting.
unless Ben did edit, in which case they've just heard it.
If that did happen or didn't happen, who knows? Who knows? That, I'm not trying to say that I don't put effort into editing these podcasts. I really do. But sometimes things just slip your mind.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that's
and
it
it
for
turns out
news.
if you haven't seen The Well yet, it's not out on streaming just yet. But do keep watching, and I will let you know once I find it. Because I think The
Andy will let you
Well, of
know.
all the things we saw, that is one of the ones that I would recommend people check out.
And talking of The Well, Andy interviewed the director of The Well, and he was a lovely fella. He's also a
He
musician, right?
was, yeah, like such a lovely man, so passionate about the project as well.
Yeah. That is also
Excellent.
in the Fright Fest Glasgow. And you know what? Those interviews will be back to back in the episode, without a doubt. So go and check out that episode. Federico Zampaglione,
There you go.
not only
Thank
a
you.
director,
I was trying to pull his last name.
a musician as well. And I want to say, and I'm not just making an assumption here, Andy, but based on his aura and the way his eyes were looking around, looking around at everybody and drawing people in, I'm going to say ladies' man. I was being drawn in, definitely. I think he had a like velvet jacket.
Yeah, he was a dapper gentleman. He certainly was.
Incredibly dapper. Okay, that's it for news. What we've been watching for this week leading up to this brand new episode. Andy, is there anything that you've seen you would like to mention?
I got a couple of things I can tell you about Ben, but it is going to be scant few this month because, as we know, what we're mostly going to be watching in the run up to Fright Fest is Fright Fest films that we'll talk about on that episode because that
Flight
schedule's
Fest?
too big. It is very kind of lots of the distributing agents. They do send us some screeners, which basically is the only hope we have of optimizing our coverage. We will watch some films in advance. So I'm not going to have too much I can tell you about,
We're
but
going to be there in person, aren't we, Andy?
we're going to be there in person. But
Do you think
you got to make sure you've
there?
got a little bit of time to interview people, so that helps us keep some of the pressure off.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Um,
Do you reckon
but
there's an event for people who enjoy watching all the planes going all around the world on the map, and it's called Flight Fest? What do you think?
I reckon so. I reckon by me tripping over that phrase a couple of times, probably willed it into existence. The SEO's like, people mention this on podcasts. We should buy this domain. There are a couple of things I'll tell you though that I watched, Ben. A couple of short films from some friends of the show that you can check out. One of them, another one in the future. One of them, I checked out our good friend Liam's film, which I've been meaning to watch for ages from Super Freak Media. Um,
Oh,
wrote and directed a short film which is on YouTube at the end of last year called The Whistle or Whistle. And it is about a man who hears one of these urban legends, these rituals that you can perhaps perform, and then a cryptid monster might chase you through the forest. And he's listening to a podcast about it before he decides to test that out for himself. And then will he encounter a monster? It's only a short film. You have to watch it and find out. Um, I've been meaning to watch it for ages. One, because one of our friends created it, but secondly, on some of the call-ins of the podcast, loads of people have called in and they're sharing their experiences like in a true crime podcast. And if you've
oh,
got the ears version of Eagle Eyes on, you might hear a little line from me in there.
No way.
Have a little
Andy
listen to
Conduit
that.
Turner. Well, I recognize you. Are you doing
I
an
reckon
accent?
you will, because you hear me talk probably more than anyone else in the entire world.
Yeah.
Um, so probably you probably hear more words from me a week than my wife does. Um, other than that, though, I watched something else which will be coming out in the future. A future guest that we keep meaning to schedule, but we've had to move things around a little bit. Chris Turner. Sometimes you say someone's got a similar last name, you say no relation, but in this case, actually yes. Um, you may remember him as the director of the short film Leopard Heels,
Yep. I've
which
seen that.
Alina from Punch was in as well. He is working on a
Oh
new
yeah.
film called Saint Maria's Way. That is currently in post-production. Another short film that really leans into, um, and I think that I can share this. This is on the IMDb write-up
Careful now.
about how the UK is one of the most surveilled countries in the world, but are the cameras actually looking at us or just watching impassively as haunting things go on?
Oh.
So it's very heavily based on being really structured around CCTV and personal camera footage,
Yeah.
um, telling a short ghost story.
Interesting.
Um, I
Interesting.
got the opportunity to see a little build of that film while it's in its post-production phases. Very spooky. Not just
Friends
saying
in
that
high
because I'm
places, eh?
related. Very, very good. Very entertaining. I am looking forward to seeing it when it's fully completed once again.
Amazing. Exciting
But yeah,
stuff.
just those couple of wee bits, Ben. The rest of my
Wee
film
bits.
watching is getting ready for Fright Fest. How about you?
So I watched The Island of Dr. Moreau, the 1996 version, directed by John Frankenheimer, which was had a lot of production problems, and there's even a documentary about how mad things were on set. Marlon Brando being fed lines in through an earpiece, so he didn't have to learn the script. Uh, I kind of want to watch. I think there's two other versions. I think there's like a 70s version, and then the original, which was maybe not called The Island Dr. Moreau, called it The Island of something. I can't remember. But I started
The
reading the
Island of
book.
Mr. Moreau while he was still
The
at medical
Island.
school.
He was still at medical school, wasn't he? For some reason in my head, I always thought Val Kilmer was the lead in this. So I've been reading the book, the H.G. Wells novel, about a man who washes up on an island. Dr. Moreau's knocking about. He's doing loads of experiments, combining human and animal DNA. It's got proper Planet of the Apes vibes, like physical performances of people who are like half man, half hyena, half man, half warthog, half man, half leopard. It Do you know what? It's not out and out. People call it like an absolute mess and stuff. Like it's not out and out a mess. Val Kilmer though doesn't play the lead character. He plays Montgomery, who's kind of like the right hand man to Dr. Moreau, played by Marlon Brando. There's some it's got like Marlon Brando's got like a little. There's a little person who plays like one of his experiments, and
Yeah.
I think it's the inspiration for Mini Me. Potentially, I've read it was what because he's like dressed the same as him and like doing other things. The thing I kind of wanted to do that like all of the times I was trying to recognize what actors were playing some of the like half human, half animal people. Ron Perlman is one of them, and I was like, yeah, that's good. What's his name? The one who plays um Boba Fett.
Oh,
Yeah, what is his name? Why have I
what's his
forgotten his
name?
name? What's his bloody name? Tamura Morrison, that's him, plays thing. Apparently, right, when when the credits were rolling, it said Boorman, played by Neil Young. And I was like, not that Neil Young, surely. That would
The
be
Boorman.
absolutely the Boorman. Anyway, I'm gonna watch the 70s version, whatever the 30s version was, and the documentary, which is about the making of this film. And Richard Stanley
Yeah.
was like making it first. I think maybe he just got to a point where he got binned off for whatever
There is
reason.
a podcast, one of the ones I follow, it's called Do Go On, where they give a report on that
Oh,
one, and there is a
wow. Okay.
full report by, it's a guest report by Nick Mason, who is one of the hosts on the Weekly Planet. If you follow entertainment
Oh,
podcasts,
yeah.
you've probably heard of it. Um, yeah, Nick Mason does a report on the island of Dr. Moreau, all of the stories around the chaos around making that film,
Oh
Richard
wow.
Stanley, the screenplay writer, and tenuous connection. He's narrated an episode of the other stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So
so.
Richard
But the,
Stanley,
the
who,
documentary is called The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island
yeah,
of Dr. Moreau.
Richard Stanley was really into making the movie and then basically was thrown off his own
Yeah. He
film.
spent 4 years developing the project, only to find an abrupt end to all his work when Marlon Brando went, actually, sod off.
Yeah,
Bloody
quite
hell.
like it's a thrilling story. So yeah, I would recommend certainly watch out for that Dougal one episode. I will have a little swizz while Ben's
One
entertaining you all a minute and try and tell you what episode it is.
one description of the Lost Soul documentary, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, says this documentary is the Citizen Kane of people telling batshit crazy Marlon Brando stories. I want it. I
Really,
want to know.
I'm gonna have to check out that thing, that documentary.
Yeah. But I thought I'd watch the film it's about at least. What's what the final, even though it's probably nothing like what it was supposed to be like. I am interested to watch that. Apart from that, I watched some early 2000s Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. I watched The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2003 movie, a remake of the original, and The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning. And when we're talking about prequels here, Andy, these films are the same. There's a little bit in the beginning where it goes, here's Leatherface being born. And now here's Leatherface. Here's like a real quick compilation of him at different ages 5, 6, 9, 14. And now here he is, all grown up. And he's basically like Kane from WWE. He's got a mask on his face and he's working in like a meat factory. What word am I? Abattoir meat
Yeah,
factory. He's chopping meat up, and in one day he gets laid off, and he just goes nuts. But after that, these films have got the same plot. They're basically like group of people, three girls and two men, maybe three women, two men, two women, three men.
some combination
Forget
of five, doesn't
some
matter.
combination of five, doesn't matter. Get lost, something goes bad, they end up asking someone for help, things. I think the remake, the 2003 remake with Jessica Biel, who's always in a white tank top that's getting wet over and over again. Rain, falling in water, sprinklers, it's all happening. Her tank top never gets dry. Um, it's pretty good, but I think the second half is just very standard slasher fare. It's not very interesting.
Yeah,
The
I remember
performance,
liking the remake. Thinking it was all right.
yeah, it's all right. It's very of its time. It's very gritty, grungy, sepia toned. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Like
lead woman in a tank top of that era of film.
lead woman in a tank top. R. Lee Ermey, who is the drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket, he plays like the sheriff. I say the sheriff with
Yeah.
inverted commas. He plays the sheriff in both of the films, and he's basically the same character as he is in Full Metal Jacket, but he's probably like the most menacing out of everyone. Leatherface is reduced to just being um I guess, yeah, like Kane. Like when Kane was with Paul Bearer back in the day when he first turned up and started going up against Undertaker, and they go, you know what, you got a brother, Undertaker, his name's Kane. And Kane didn't say anything. He just went, oh, he just did whatever Paul Bearer wanted him to. This is the same, but with the sheriff going, Thomas, and then Leatherface turns up. There are some,
Like he's the lady from Tom and Jerry.
yeah, Thomas, Thomas. Again, is that inappropriate? Sorry about that. I'm knocking him out the park. And then, yeah, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning is like it devotes about 10 minutes to this is him when he was younger, and then exactly the same film as the 2003 version. Essentially, there are some like nasty bits, like there are some like real. I feel like these films, for the first time, try to like take things to the next level in terms of like what horrible stuff you want to see on screen. Like before, I guess this was like before torture porn stuff, wasn't it? Before Hostel. Well, actually, the beginning I think came out a year after Hostel. So from 2003, the remake into the beginning, 2006, you can really see the transition of how horror cinema had gone with the torture porn
Yeah,
stuff
you'll
as
see someone
mainstream.
get their fingers chopped. You'll see that hook go into their
Yeah,
back. You see
yeah.
all those grubby, gristly bits.
Yeah, but you know what? Leatherface is a character. I feel like the essence of him is perhaps lost in these films. They've made him like this, just a superhuman brute, which of course I know is part of him. yes, but it's just not very interesting, or you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like when Leatherface gets hurt, like in the original one and stuff, and you can hear him like, "Oh, bloody hurted." You're a bit like, "Oh, bloody hell, poor old Leatherface." No, you're not, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It just
There's a
feels like,
humanity to it, right? Which is,
yeah, and it almost suggests as well in the, you know, when they take the prequel, it sort of suggests that those people who are raising him aren't even his family. So I'm a bit like, well, I don't know. It kind of has more impact when you think it is his family. You know, these are actually people he's blood
yeah.
related to.
And his name is
Um,
Thomas Leatherface.
Thomas Leatherface, Thomas Hewitt, I believe. But with these films, Michael Bay is a producer. He's loving it. He's going, listen, have you ever imagined that shot from Bad Boys where they both stand up and it pans around the bottom? And I do it again in Transformers. It's a great shot. Have you ever imagined if Leatherface stood up with a chainsaw and that shot happened? We don't
Yeah.
get it. We don't get it. I'm fuming. He's not the director though, so we'll let him off. Um, I think that was it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
apart
that's
from the
all.
film of the week, obviously.
Apart from the film of the week, which is In a Violent Nature, which is a 2024 Canadian slasher film written and directed by Chris Nash, starring Ry Barrett, Andrea Pavlovic, and Lauren Marie Taylor. Um, when a locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower in the woods, that's a very specific
Yeah.
event to happen, isn't it? That entombs the rotting corpse of Johnny, a vengeful spirit spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime. His body is resurrected and becomes hell bent on retrieving it. The locket, that is. It's got 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 77% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, 44% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Letterboxd 2.8 out of 5. Some choice reviews from Letterboxd. Lindsay Blair Goldner says, Homie's step counter is easily hitting 10K every day. 3.5 stars. Anthony says, is it just me or did Johnny look like one giant ass dirty minion? Ass dirty. 3 stars. Kit Laser says, I was vibing so hard with this until I wasn't. It's a cool premise with laudable, with homage and enough juice to make me excited for the director's next feature, but I'm disappointed as well. 2.5 stars. And then Ethan says, powerful anti-yoga film. 4 stars. Don't do yoga. You'll end up,
Hooked.
well, not, I mean, more than hooked. Hooked is the least of her worries in that scene. Okay, so as we said, we've already said about what we knew about this film, kind of like a POV of a killer, possibly more of a slow burn than I was anticipating. There is a lot of walking. We got to agree with that. But did that do it for you? Did you enjoy the plump, plump, plump walking along?
I can
As he's
see where
supposed to
it
have
came from.
super human hearing as well, right?
I think he's got like you already mentioned the Friday the 13th game. I think
Yeah.
he's got like a HUD. He's got like a radar that shows his next objective. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
that's the distance of my next objective. I can just go there.
Because I was kind of feeling that because there were characters in the distance, and I was a bit like they're crystal clear. I was wondering if that was a choice that was made to try and suggest that like he is not of this world. Because I think that is what we're suggesting because he's
Oh yeah,
been
because
buried.
like a Jason, he died when he's a little boy. Now he's a big man now.
Yeah. So what happens? He's been in the ground growing,
So I guess like plants, I guess. Yeah, it's grown up
just
there.
like plants. Yeah, and I guess it's quite a iconic looking. Like I could already imagine people at like horror conventions wearing this outfit, right?
Yeah,
Big. A dirty ass minion or an ass dirty minion, whatever he said, was probably about right. It's
a
like
big a big like fire mask, like a vintage firefighter's mask.
yeah, I wasn't sure what it was initially. I was a bit like, is that kind of like a underwater thing? But then it looked leathery, which was weird. But yeah, it's good. And like of a weapon of choice, it's like this fire hook, I guess that like firemen of that era would use to move debris and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, like a drag hook, it's called, I think.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, and
Drag hook.
he's got a nice wee hatchet as well. But that's that everyone gets one of those.
Well, you need your left armament and your right armament because
Yeah,
sometimes
he's dual wielding. Like the hook, I think there's a cool like now this is Friday the 13th the game. That's got a cooldown on it. He needs a hatchet for in the interim.
That's true. That's true. You can only use that. It's got a cooldown of at least 8 seconds.
Yeah,
But of course, as he upgrades throughout, that cooldown will
that
slowly
cooldown is reduced. Yeah.
reduced. Um, yeah, and obviously, in terms of the rest of everybody else apart from Johnny, we don't really spend all that much time with them. Any time we spend with them is kind of like either from a distance or kind of like residual
Yeah. As they're being
residual
killed.
dialogue as they're
Yeah.
being killed. So you don't really get a chance to make an assumption about them, whether they're all annoying, I can't wait for them all to die, or whatever. Like we genuinely don't know much about them and their
Yeah, we see so
relationships with each
little of
other.
them, don't we? And like you'd be forgiven for not needing to engage with any of their names.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you who any was, but there are lots of Chris, Colt, Troy, Aurora, Brody. These are all people.
Chris, Colt,
Is
aren't they two of the three ninjas? Right.
that
Colt,
true?
Tum Tum, he's in there.
There's also someone else in there called the woman.
The woman.
Um, the woman. Interesting. The
Is that the
woman.
lady from the end he picks up in the car?
It might be, yeah. It might be the woman. Who knows? What role am I playing in this film? We've got you down as a woman. Everyone else has got a name, even this person who's in it for 4 seconds. We've called this person Evan. Well, unfortunately, even though we're going to be spending good a portion of the film with you, probably like more than any of these other characters, we can only go for the woman. Is that all right? Yeah. Um, a bit like reminding me a bit of the game Firewatch as well, right? So, do you ever play Firewatch?
I'm aware of Fire, I've not played it.
Maybe because he's a fireman or he's wearing a fireman's outfit and you're in the woods. But Firewatch, which wasn't horror at all, but I was because I didn't really know much about the game, I was constantly walking around thinking, someone's going to jump out at me in a minute.
It's going to be a bit of fire.
This is going to turn into a horror movie game, but it didn't. It never did. So that was kind of reminding me of that. It was probably the most tranquil slasher film I've ever seen,
Yeah, because
especially
I
the
tell you what,
day.
beautiful scenery. That bit where he's done a murder, and he stands out on that hillside looking over the mountains. Those blue skies, Ben, those endless trees for miles. Tell you what, send me there. What a time.
What's wrong with him, anyways? He just want that locket back.
Yeah,
Is that it? Give me the locket back. Didn't you know that was my locket and it's precariously balanced on where was it? Like hanging on a pole in a
yeah,
fire tower.
hanging on a pole that was like his gravestone. I mean, you might as well get into it because that's where we begin. So yeah, we just hear, and I what I will give this film credit for is I think it is based in that there is a deeper lore to this. It's like you've been dropped into,
Yeah,
part 3 or 4 of a horror franchise, and
yeah,
there are allusions to, but never that much explicit exposition. That there have been other incidents where
yeah.
he has come back to life and done some murders in the
It's
past.
almost like this could easily be a film where we open, we go, oh no, if someone's found the locket that last time we saw him buried with, that was there
Yeah.
to keep him trapped, and
This
now
is the
someone's
start
found
on
it.
this is the start of Nightmare on Elm Street 4 when a dog does a piss on
Oh yeah.
Freddy Krueger's consecrated grave, and that is sufficient to bring him back to life. Dog piss washes away the blessing, and then Freddy is able to return. Somehow, Freddy returns.
Somehow, Freddy returned. Dog piss. Did he kill the dog? Hope not.
I think the dog piss turns into fire. I don't recall if the dog is okay or not.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, so basically we open up with someone telling a bit of a story saying, "What are you doing here?" Well, this is a very haunted tower, you understand, because this was a place where someone died and this is where he was laid to rest. And then on the way out, he goes, "Tell you what, though, I'll take this lovely medallion.
I'll
I've
have
I've
this
been away.
lovely little locket. And it doesn't look like the kind of medallion that's going to be worth anything, does it? Not that I would pocket anything that was just hanging around willy-nilly thinking I'll sell it on. Because first of all,
Case that was keeping a soul at rest.
in case it was keeping a soul at rest, but also like I'm kind of a lazy person. I rarely look at a situation and think, how can I get monetary gain out of this situation? I usually think, what is the least amount of effort I have to do? If I have to take it, get it valuated, then sell it on,
Get
can't be
down cash
asked.
for gold.
Get down cash for gold. Get down cash converters. I'm leaving it where it is. What's the point? But Troy, apparently. So at this point, there's a lot of dialogue, but we don't see characters, do we?
No, it's all just. And for a second, I was like, It's very quiet for a few seconds. I was like, is it not going? Is this paused? But then you see it move.
Is there no bloody dialogue? But then we see, yeah, he takes the medallion, walks off. We hear him and someone else like just leaving the area, and then is when the corpse of Johnny. And for the majority of this film, the camera just lingers behind him. We do get a good look at his face, but not for a while. And yeah, he rises up out of the ground. Now, where do you stand on this? If he was killed when he was a kid, is that right?
Yeah, that's what it said. Although
Or he's been back
they
as an adult again?
they they indicate that he had developmental issues, so maybe he was
Ah.
fully grown,
I
but
was gonna
not
say, because
not mentally so.
how do you dig it all for a little fella, and then he grows into giant man? It's another case of this, isn't it? How obviously we talk about Michael Myers being a serious unit when he's just been in prison the whole time. Tense, Tenson. How's how's Johnny got bloody massive? Is it just genes? Is it just his genes? Is he a big old
Just
fella?
just forest life, isn't it? He's farm strong.
He's farm strong. I see what you mean. Yeah, that's as much explanation as I need, I think. Farm strong. Um, so yeah, he gets up out of the ground, absolutely fuming. It says here enraged, but I feel like enraged should be slightly different. I feel like he's simmering
He
with
keeps it to
anger.
himself, doesn't he? But yeah, he's got one
Yeah,
on him for certain. He's
he's
certainly
not
walking with purpose.
he's not getting up like someone comes onto Jeremy Carlo, Jerry Springer, like after they've been backstage,
Shaking
raging.
their head, everything the others have said.
He don't come storming in like that, moves his chair away from him. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I ain't interested. Where's
Yeah.
where's my bloody medallion? Where's my medallion? That's all I care about. Where's my medallion? You stole it from me, you motherfuckers.
And then the first thing he does, as soon as he comes out the ground, is has a walk along and he sees like a little dead fox bones
Yep,
in a trap.
yep. What does this represent? I feel like this is a film where every scene, every lingering scene will represent something. Does this represent he's dead as well? He's a rotting corpse, really. Caught in a trap. Caught in a trap. Caught
You
in the
can't
trap.
you can't get
Caught
out.
caught in this never-ending loop of wanting to get revenge. Because it'll be put back in the ground with the locket again. Someone else is going to come along and find the locket. We need to find a more succinct way of keeping him locked up. Can't
Stick
just
it in
leave
his
him there.
pocket and then bury him. Bury him with it.
Stick it in his pocket, and then that makes a lot more sense, right? Hang it on a pole or something. I don't know. Anyone's gonna see it. A magpie flying by.
Magpies
Imagine
magpies would be the best people to take it.
people. Not them bloody magpie people. Yeah, that's true though, isn't it?
He'd be
Unless
marching around the forest trying to find magpies forever.
you're like, what the fuck? Who stole this then? Magpie in
And
its
it's
nest.
and the little chattering they do sounds like they're laughing. They'd be like,
Do
and he'd be like,
you think Johnny can climb a tree?
probably with his hooks.
That's true, actually. Yeah. I so he's obviously a quiet type with superhuman strength, like uh Jason. But there are like some of the moments of this are like explosive violence. It's not just explosive violence, it's like real imaginative violence. Like he could easily just punch someone to death, which he does. I think he punches a hole through someone at some point.
Yeah,
He could easily do that. But I'm talking this drag hook is an artist's paintbrush to him. And in
yeah.
terms of the kills, I say not all the kills. I'm talking two, maybe three tops. Some of them are exquisitely executed to the point where I was like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. About one kill, anyway. I've never
Like
seen anything like
some of
that
the
ever.
kills in this thing are beyond a lot of things we see in cinema. I can only put together here that one thing that Johnny has had available to him in the afterlife is Mortal Kombat games because this is the level of
Yeah,
violence that has been put into the kills on these things. This is the level of over the topness, and it's not like you're not punching a guy's head off. You are like having a two or three stages of splitting people to bits.
like killing
Um,
someone, but like having a great time doing it. Like if somebody came to you with this idea written down, you go, "You all right, mate?
yeah,
Is everything, you all right? Is everything okay? Because this is
This is
horrific.
absolutely fun. I also feel like this entire endeavor, it could have just been designed. You know, sometimes you see a movie script now, or sorry, you see a comic script, which is like you're begging for this to be made into a film. I feel
Yeah,
like the entire unique silhouette of Johnny that we have, his focus on
yeah,
these kills, you may as well have dropped this onto Ed Boon's desk and said, "Can you put him in Mortal Kombat, please?" Because it is
yeah,
entirely designed to have that kind of visual flair to put
yeah.
into that kind of secondary media as well.
Absolutely. But also like I was kind of it kind of left me a little bit frustrated because I feel like we peak with one particular kill and I feel like we never ever go back to those levels. I feel like there are a couple of kills which are still pretty good as well. But I feel like we never go back to the levels of this particular kill. And I'm not expecting every single kill to be like that, but I feel like we're like, oh right, now we're getting started was how I felt.
And then it doesn't
And then
escalate beyond that.
and it
I know
doesn't
what you mean.
escalate beyond that. So I was a bit like blue balled, I guess you could say, but to suggest that
I mean,
on
we could
screen
get to it because
murder.
the thing as we go through this film is there was not going to be that much to say about dialogue because there isn't very much.
There isn't much, and also like it's not really important, is it? That's the thing.
No.
I
So
think that is how well done this is. That I believe I kind of felt like Johnny, it didn't matter who he was killing and why he was killing them. He was just like this machine that was walking towards his destination and killing people willy-nilly. Everything else was kind of fodder, wasn't it? It didn't really matter.
yeah,
And I guess it succeeded in a way in making us realize what it would be like from the point of view of the serial killer in that way, whereas you were almost like, I literally don't care about these people. And you feel like that sometimes when it's flipped, when you're watching horror movies, like I don't care about these people, I just want to see them die. But this time it was even more so because not we literally know nothing about these people. It's even more relevant that they should now suffer.
you're only really hearing what the killer has heard when he's close enough to them to hear them. So this is
Mm,
the first bit we see. So he's marching through. He's taken a pause to look at the dead fox, and then as he goes along, he sees a house, and it's basically the forest ranger having a go at this trapper for setting his
yeah.
traps illegally. And he said, "Oh, you hurt people, and stay out of these woods." And the trapper sends the ranger packing and says, "Oh, on your bike, mate. Like you've got no right to be on my land."
Yeah. But then
Um,
this whole sequence while this argument's happening is Johnny slowly, methodically stomping towards them.
mhm.
Right. And we know what he's got on his mind. He's only got one thing on his mind.
The ranger heads off. He heads into the guy's house. The guy mistakes him as being the ranger coming back and like shoots a gun near him, but then is very quickly. And we get an odd, speedy cut in this film, and this is the first one where he just sees he's approaching him, and the next thing you know, he's this guy has been chased into the forest, has been caught in one of his own traps, and then you just see Johnny reaching toward his face, and then you
Oh, he's
re-see him again,
vanished.
and now he's got a bloody hand,
Yeah, so we were thinking he just pushes his hand through his face as if he were made of polystyrene or something
like
like
Jimon Honsu when he was shushing that man in A Quiet Place Day One the other week.
that. He shushed him to death. There was a moment as well where he goes into the house before, and he sees a necklace which he mistakes for the locket, and there's like a brief little memory bit of like his dad, and that we hear someone like talking
Saying,
to
"Oh,
him,
this is
going,
what this will have." Like you'll always know that we love you.
"You always know that we love you because we'll get you a lovely little locket. So even if you turn into a shambling brain dead, oh, brain
Horrible
dead's
monster
probably a bit
man.
harsh, horrible monster man who wants to kill. Remember, we've got you this lovely locket. We got it from Elizabeth Duke in Argos." We got it from Elizabeth Duke for
Nine
you.
carat gold.
9 carat gold, 39.99. I'm not sniffing at that.
But
Um,
unfortunately, they haven't. It's a mistake because this one has badass motherfucker like written
like
on it,
the
like
like the wallet,
engraved.
like
Yeah.
Jules's wallet from Pulp Fiction. Badass motherfucker. Um, Weird. I get the feeling if you got that on a locket, you've given it to yourself. It's not like a gift. I feel like you're calling yourself badass motherfucker. Um, so yeah. And then in the woods, he gets stuck in his own bear trap. Johnny puts his hand into his face. Again, a bit of a kill off screen.
Yeah.
I know it's easy. I know it's easing us in. Then Johnny hears a car in the distance and pursues it, never breaking into a jog or a fat or a little slow run or anything like that. He's always walking at the same speed in a way that our zombies are supposed to do it, right? If they hear a noise, they just go towards it at the
Yeah.
same
Just
speed, but
goes
I'll get you
towards it.
eventually.
He trundles along. Um,
It's definitely a
and
trundle.
this is the longest we actually hear much dialogue from people, right? Because we get a campfire scene. There's a group of friends out in the woods together. Um, and someone's firing a gun to prove they have a gun there. They're
Yeah.
all just doing
It's
some
just
classic round the campfire banter. Someone's penis size comes into it.
yeah. And then somebody decides to do story time.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is the most amount of time we spend with these characters, and this is because we see it from Johnny's point of view, but we do go into the. I don't know if this necessarily worked for me. I think I would have preferred to stay with Johnny because you do kind of go into the campfire and move around the characters to kind of show them, and essentially this character is telling the story of Johnny. Johnny's ears must be burning, right?
Yeah. He says, "Oh, tell you what,
You are
there
talking
was a
about
lad
me.
and he pissed someone off. Like a guy tripped over one of his cars and had to have some time off work. So he went, tell you what, climb up this tower. There's some presents for you." And
He
then when he
literally
climbed
says,
up,
"There's a bag of toys up there."
he jumped up and
There's a
said
what?
boo. He fell down and died.
Died, scared him to death. It was deemed accidental. Nobody was ever sort of punished for it at all. And then, according to legend, there were two series of murders, decades apart, which are attributed to Johnny's vengeful spirit. Apparently, people were just like torn apart, right?
Yeah. And this is just, the background that we get. Don't see it,
Torn,
just hear about it.
don't see it, just hear about it, which is pretty good. Um, then everybody kind of retreats to the cabin, and this is where we don't go into the cabin. We kind of view all of the discussions between the characters from outside as Johnny's milling about, you know. I reckon he's just a people watcher. You know what I mean? Some people like that, don't they? Go to a cafe, don't need a laptop, don't need any music on. They can just sit there and do a little bit of people watching.
The real psychos.
The real psychos, exactly. What are you doing? Well, I'm just raw dogging. We mentioned raw dogging twice now. I'm
Just
just
raw
raw
dogging
dogging this.
people.
I'm just raw. Oh Jesus. Well, whatever you get up to in your spare time, totally
just
up to
raw
you.
just raw dogging my Costa.
I'm just raw dogging my Costa. Yeah, I got a Costa, and I'm not even reading the cup. I'm not even reading the cup. I'm just sat there
I'm
staring,
saying here,
staring
taking
out,
in no external information, just watching people.
just watching people. Sometimes you get caught in like a little listening to someone's conversation, and it's like you're not doing it on purpose, really. You just it's loud enough. It's right there. I was on a National Express coach the other day. Refused to pay these prices for the bloody trains. That's all right. I'll stay on the coach a little bit longer. There was a woman, and she was a long way away. I reckon at least 8 or 9 seats in front of me, speaking at an unbelievable volume about the most mundane shit. At least if you're gonna be that loud, say some outrageous stuff, say something interesting that I can like laugh about. The most mundane stuff. At one point, she's talking about how she likes to make, I like how she likes to do her couscous. Oh, I'd fluff it up. I'd add a bit of hot water, fluff it up with a fork. How else you do it? You know what I mean? That's
That
not
is
a
just
talking
how you
point.
do it.
How fucking else you doing it? You don't
Maybe
get it on a
some people might
pan.
sieve it, I guess, Ben. Maybe
Some
some
people
people
probably
use.
put it in the microwave. Anyway, what I'm saying is, don't want to get into that again. Don't give it as much attention as I'm already giving it. What I'm saying is, people watching can be fun, but if if you're out and about, do something interesting for me to take in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And unfortunately, someone who doesn't get to take in anything interesting is one of our characters' dates on Tinder because he's just on the way out to meet someone who he's matched with on the app. His friends give him a bit of teasing. He goes,
That's weird,
no,
don't it?
just going for a poo, actually. And he goes to have one. But obviously, he's set up this Tinder date. But she's going to be wondering what happens to him because
Well,
instead of going on that date, what happens is he gets his head sawed in half.
what? I like how have you set it up on Tinder? For how many miles is your radius for you to be matching with people in the middle of the fucking woods? You know what I mean?
So,
You gotta be desperate. You gotta
closest
be
possible match.
closest possible match. 50 miles? 100 miles? What should I do? If someone in the middle of the woods in a cabin who's matched with you, I'll go and meet them. See you in a minute. I'm on my way. You know.
Off he goes. And just when he's stopping to have a look round there, he gets his head
It's a draw
fully.
knife.
Yeah,
He gets his head fully chopped off. A draw knife. So like a woodworking tool. It's like got a long blade with handles either side. He gives him the old reach around. Gives him the old
does.
reach around and just like pulls it up against a tree and just takes his head off, right? Like this is the first instance of this is a pretty cool moment because we he goes to like a shed, doesn't he? Like a wood shed, some sort of
Well, yeah.
shed.
So he
There's all...
drags him along to like a visitors center. So, and I like the
Oh
fact that
yeah. No, this is good.
again we see the killer in like the Halloween movies when Michael Myers brings up his house of scary horrors when he does the orgy of evidence that there's been murders. This is a bit like we get here. But we actually see this guy drags this fellow the head and the body of this first victim along, second victim along
Yeah.
to the ranger station and basically tools up. This is where he finds his hook and his mask and a hatchet and uses the dead, like lifeless, limp body to smash the display case open with. It's
In the
brutal.
most it is brutal, and this is what I kind of like. I like the brutal side of him. Like it really is just like they try to like humanize him in a way with that story, and there's a moment later where he's like playing with a car, and I get it that they're trying to humanize him or trying to make him seem like his mental age is something less of what it is. I say that he's a vengeful spirit in the body of an evil minion. We don't know like the logistics of how old he's supposed to be in any way. But it's these moments of like absolutely insane, brutal, un unknowing violence, which I like. I like this stuff. This is, and
Yeah.
I get it. Like there are a lot of the slashers like this that kind of do it, but something about this which is like is really interesting.
And
Um,
it really accelerates here because he puts on the disguise and then we do have a couple of these scenes where just time passes. There's just a snap, and it's like you see him
yeah.
walking, and then the next thing you know, he's still walking, but the time of day has changed. And we're now at the next morning, he's in a disguise, and you see a couple of the characters over at the opposite side of the lake. It's Aurora and one of the
Oh
others, right?
yeah. So in terms of when you said his disguise, his disguise is his outfit. His is it's a suiting up moment, isn't it? He gets the
Yeah.
it's like it's in a kind of display case this that kind of
Yeah, it's in like
shows
a
it's
like it's like the history of firefighting in the
yeah.
woods, right?
Yeah, exactly. Um and he's got that and the two drag hooks and the hood. But yeah, it's great. But yeah, the moment you're recounting that says that obviously though, the guy who died, who got his head torn off with a draw knife, like he didn't go back into the cabin. So did everyone just assume he'd gone on his Tinder date? Is that
Gone on
right?
his Tinder date, I assume. Yeah.
Okay, I've got you. That makes sense. So Johnny comes across Aurora and Brody on a lake dock.
Brody. Okay.
Again, we get a little bit of understanding here about their relationship. It seems like Brody, she's got the hots for Aurora.
So, oh,
She,
why don't you make a move then? I'm not into this high school stuff.
yeah, why don't you make a move? I'm into this
And
high
then she
school
goes, "Oh,
stuff.
I
What's
will then." She
that?
goes, "Oh, not now. It's too late. You've blown it." And
Actually,
she
it's
goes,
too
"Oh,
late. I'm going for it. I'm going to practice some yoga. I've
bloody
already got
hot
into
and
the
cold
correct
here."
mental headspace.
Bloody Katy Perry there said, "Oh, last night, last night you were coming on to me loads." Oh yeah, I was actually. Ah, but you blew it. Oh, that's bad then. Um, but don't worry. Maybe just come out and come on to me. All right, then I will. But not
It's
now. Oh, okay.
all
Because
right.
you've chosen to go swimming. Ah, fuck.
Well, I could
And
get
then
out. I could
and
get
then
out
she
right
go
now if you want,
and
and I
then
could.
she like goes, "Oh no, no, no. What happens is I'm off to go and do some
She
stretching,
says,
and then you can come and stretch me some more in a minute.
she
But you've got
literally
to have your
says that.
swim first."
Go and have your swim. I'll go and do some yoga, and then you come and stretch me out afterwards.
You'd have the
Oh,
most
Jesus
half-assed
Christ.
swim in the world, wouldn't you? You'd be like, splash, splash. Well,
Oh, well, that's two legs done. I'm gonna go back. And literally, I reckon
maybe like
Johnny's
bloody
heard.
Tom Daly. bouncing in and out of that water.
I want to see you do 10 laps around this swimming pool. It's not a swimming pool, it's a lake. 10 laps around this lake, and then you can come and stretch me out, which is not. Do you know what? There are some euphemisms where you're a bit like, well, that could mean one or two things. Stretch me out. There's no beating around the bush. That's also a euphemism. There's no beating around the bush unless I don't know when's it set. Is it 70s? Who knows? But basically, Johnny's heard that and he's gone, come and stretch me out, and he's taken it literally.
Yeah,
Literally,
he's
he's
gone.
gone. Oh, she wants to be stretched out.
And
He
maybe
does.
he's come away with the misconception there that women are a bit like wham bars, and they're not. For anyone listening here, can't be stretching them all over the place.
Jesus, I'd never make that assumption, but you know more than me. You're a married man. I'm not.
Uh,
Uh, but J- so Johnny like does a great submerge into the water, holds his breath for a long time. I'm assuming he don't need to hold his breath if he's
he's a,
undead.
he's a zombie man, isn't he? Yeah. So
Yeah, zombie
I
man.
think I've done this exact thing in the Friday the 13th game where you just teleport through the
Oh,
water.
I thought you meant in real life then. I've done this exact thing. I've walked into a lake, just walked along the bottom, and then came out the other side. It's a right laugh.
Tell you what, this
Um,
is one of the more subtle kills, but I really like it. I think it's
yeah,
brilliant. It's
no,
one
it's
of my
good.
favorite bits of the film.
I don't know what else you could do in this scene either. Like, this is the thing. I like the over the top, ridiculous nature of some of the kills. I like the more subtle side of the kills. It's the kind of middle ground kills. The like, "Oh, I'm just gonna chop you a bit." Those are the kills where I'm a bit like, make some effort.
This
This is
one's really
good
good
because it's
because
very.
Brody's
There's
just
like no
swimming and you sort of
soundtrack.
like go,
Yeah, and then she comes back up, and then she goes back down,
it goes
and
back down, and then literally just comes, this floats to the surface.
there's like no soundtrack. So in this moment, I was kind of thinking, I wonder how they did. They must have. I wonder how they shot this moment. They must have literally just shot it. Like someone had to hold their breath for ages, and then float up like they were a dead body.
Either that, or if there is, depends on how clear the water is. You could have just had a diver underwater with a source of air. Tell you what, Ben. Tell you
I'll
what.
tell you.
Did a couple of
Uh,
scuba lessons. It's coming in
oh yeah,
handy
you
for horror
did.
hangout.
Bloody hell! That's the difference between me and you. There. That's where me is an amateur. Didn't even think of that. You, scuba man.
Standard piece of equipment, Ben. Any diver is going to have a secondary air source that you can offer to a buddy if they're under there. So the actor could have just gone under. You could have had a scuba man underneath
Yeah.
and just gone,
Oh
here's
man.
an air supply. She could have sat down
I'll
there.
tell you what. We've already got a list of films we've got to make. If we got to do any scenes like this, I'm glad that you're around because if I was a director, I'd just go, "Oh, hold your bloody breath in it," and then come up dead. Not literally.
Yeah. Whereas me having
A little bit of air.
three
You can
whole
have it.
days of scuba lessons, and then it's like
You can
like the
have a bit of
karate
air if you
teacher
want.
just staying one lesson ahead of the students. Um,
Yeah, don't want to get over. Don't want to get overwhelmed now by them all beating you up. Um. So yeah. So obviously, poor Aurora. No, Brody. Brody dies. Floats up. And again, this was the moment in the trailer where we saw the title as well. That was effective. Brody is dead. Johnny gets out of the water, pursues Aurora, who's doing some yoga near a cliffside, dangerous. And then this is the moment we mentioned, the big kill, the probably the moment everyone's going to talk about with this film, maybe the only moment. And I kind of think it's okay. At least this film's got that. This kill is, as you said, a Mortal Kombat fatality, but so egregious and over the top and unnecessary in its execution, right? It just makes us understand something about Johnny's mental state is that he's not just killing people for the sake of it. He's being imaginative, he's being exciting and
so
unique.
technically
With it.
speaking, then, so she goes to get away, stands at the edge of the cliff, gets punched through the back with his big, powerful punching hand with a hook in it.
Yeah.
He then turns her around, feeds the hook through her feet, pulls the hook through, clonks her on the head with it in the brain, and then pulls the chain so her head is then bent forwards and comes
Goes through the
through
hole in her, all the way
in
through.
her front, and her own head is sticking out the back of her through a
Yeah.
hole in her abdomen.
Essentially, human pretzel, you would say,
Yeah.
wouldn't you?
He
Just
pretzels her, has a look at the beautiful scenery, and then boots her off a cliff.
boots her off a cliff. And again, this looks great. We see like we linger a lot on some sequences like this, and we linger a lot on her body kind of like rolling down the hill, but not all the way, kind of just stopping halfway, right?
Yeah,
And again, he just like, well, I don't give a shit. See you later. I don't need that to go all the way down into the water. All the best.
I bet he'd be
Um,
frustrated though if that's what he planned to do. He'd be like,
can you imagine if you were anyone and you found this body? What on earth would you think? This woman's been in some sort of machinery accident. This woman's been
yeah,
like dragged through.
you'd think you've fallen funny. That's what's happened there. You've done a real.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. We've fallen funny. Holes appeared in our body, and our head's just gone into it and out back through the other end. It's
She
it's
looks.
horrible.
You would assume this would be someone who would be absolutely convinced they lived in the Matrix and there's been a big old glitch. You go,
Yeah, it's like a Bethesda glitch in real life. It's like somebody is literally like clipped through their own body, and they're just
it's like
like, yeah,
just down the hill.
it is horrific and a proper like mouth open. Like
A shocker.
I still get plenty of moments like this in modern horror. I'm not saying these moments are too few and far between because I get it. We don't need moments like this in every film. But for a film where it was a bit slower paced and it was a bit kind of like methodical in terms of the pacing, this was like a well needed jolt in the arm for this film. Because I
Yeah,
was like, I don't know about you, but I was like, give me more of that. That that times 14. And
that times 14.
there's a TikTok going around of a guy eating a lovely bit of tasting someone's dinner and then going, that's delicious. Give me 14 of them. That's how I feel. That's how I felt.
You want
Tasted the
more
kill.
of that.
Oh, that's lovely. That yeah. Give me 14 of them. And unfortunately, we don't even get like half of that again, which is annoying.
I think you get a little way, but maybe not quite to those extremes. So, what do you get? Who's your next one?
So there's another two guys, isn't there? So Troy, Colt, and Evan are arguing over the car keys and their friends
Oh,
being
this is
missing.
where
One
we
of
get
them,
to see Johnny's face, right?
Johnny's face, yes, so he gives sits down, takes off his mask. We see his face. It's a bit, yeah, I mean, it's very Jason, isn't it? Like the disfigurement
Yeah,
and the,
but ever
yeah.
such milky eyes.
Oh yeah, milky eyes. Someone throws their car keys into the woods, which are like near Johnny, and he picks them up, and there's a little attached toy car, which is Johnny's kryptonite, essentially. He loves a little toy car. He makes it broom broom all over his body, up his arms. I don't know if he does that. Um, but yeah, Colt and Chris. Who's Chris? I don't know. Who cares? They drive off. I think that's a couple who drive
Chris
off,
is
and
the
then
Chris is our final character, I think.
that's right, yeah. And then at this point, Johnny goes and kills Troy and Evan. The way he does it is he throws the hatchet at one of them, right?
Oh,
Hits him in
this
the
is
back.
brilliant. I love this is one of my favorite parts of the like the whole build of following the killer. So basically, the
Mm,
two guys go back into the cabin. Johnny walks out and just leans on the horn, and he just need to jam the horn on, and
yeah,
then walks past the door around the house, basically does like a loop of the house,
yeah,
and you even get a bit where you see the other character in the house, like kind of clocks him at the window and like leans forward
yeah,
to see what's going on. Really subtly done in the background. Um, one of the two guys is out the front with a baseball bat saying, "Oh, what's going on? You think this is really funny, do you?" And
yeah.
then
Thinking someone's just fucking with them, right?
gets in, and then he comes up. The guy does block the first blow with a baseball bat, but then he gets
Mm,
hatcheted in the leg. Um, Johnny is interrupted because the other guy does come out the house and shoots him with a gun,
yeah.
taking him down. So he's temporarily
He's done. That's it.
incapacitated.
Film's over.
Because, oh, did you
No.
get him? Yes. And then you see the two friends, the one who has come to the rescue and has shot Johnny down, tries to help his friend away, but then um you get a wonderful over the top shot of him doing like the classic Undertaker sit up. He grabs the
Oh
hatchet
yeah, he
and then he
does do
just
that.
throws it off camera. And
Yeah.
then you just hear the other character who's already been attacked screaming and shouting.
Mm,
And then as he draws closer, you just see the other character axe in the back of the head, twitching. He's got one
yeah.
of them, and then he gets the first character with a big old rock. As soon as you saw it, that's like when you watch the Scooby Doo cartoon, And in the
Yeah.
old style of animation, there is something that's slightly differently colored, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's gonna be interactive. He's gonna be able to pick that up.
He's gonna use that in a second. Oh
And
man.
a
And
big
yeah, it
graphical head smash as well. Like it's a really
yeah,
satisfying from over the top with Johnny standing over him, so the
it's
effect
great,
can
man.
really be sold. Smashes his head with a
Splat.
big rock.
A giant splat.
What do you think of the effect on this one? Not that you've seen many heads explode in real life, I'm sure.
I mean, great, yeah. A great where you think, yeah, probably. I mean, maybe not as big a splash as that in real life, but convinced me, you know. But I'm not watching these films to be convinced by the kills as especially the one before this in mind. Not the hatchet one, but the pretzel person.
Yeah, you're ready for that. That was a simpler time that we got there. So those two are killed, but then the couple that drove away on the ATV earlier, they come back.
Yeah.
Um, they see Johnny, and he sees that the female in this one of the couple, she has the locket. She has it on.
She's got the locket on. So would you just if someone just went found this locket in the wilderness on a pole, would you like it? Yeah, I like it. And not only do I want it, I'm gonna wear it immediately, right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you this as a present.
Yeah, I'll be like cheapskate. Um, yeah. So they see Johnny, and then they flee,
This is
don't they? They
Chris. Yeah, so Chris is wearing the locket, right?
mm.
Is that right?
Chris is wearing the locket. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
Chris is wearing the locket. They flee to the ranger station. This is another like time skip we get. So Johnny basically trundles after him. He's got his waypoint up, and then we see him go through, and and it becomes the night time,
Hmm.
and we see him rock up to the ranger station. Um, and this ranger, old ranger exposition, but he knows about the previous times that Johnny has been brought to life. And as he walks within earshot, you literally say him, "No, you can't just give it back to him. He's been awoken. All right."
He's been awoken. That's it. You've done it now. Too late. You can't just go, sorry, I regret it. Have your locket back. You don't actually care about the locket. It's what it represents. All right.
Yeah, it's the principle that you would have taken it. First the magpies, now you. Um,
First the magpie, first the magpies. Now you, and they were laughing at me. So bloody
um,
bastards.
So he turns up. The ranger tries to help me again. He shoots him down and incapacitates him briefly. But then while they're discussing, I think they try to Jason him because he basically says, "Right, you wrap him up in these chains." Colt goes, "Oh, can't do that. Can't do it." And then he springs back to
Andy,
life and grabs the gun.
how flimsy are these chains?
Oh,
Flimsy.
the chains for your bath plug are sturdier.
It's literally like someone's gone into B&Q. They've gone to those reels where they got the chains, and they've gone, what's the cheapest, shittiest chain for a bath plug? Yeah, about
Yeah.
it's how
This is
many
the
times do you have to
chains that
wrap
you
him
use
up?
to this is the chains that the bank uses to keep the pens attached to the desk.
And that doesn't stop them getting stolen. People are little old ladies are tearing those chains in half to steal the pens. It's not going to keep Johnny like stuck there, but luckily they didn't even get to do it, did they? Did they even
Because
do
he
it? I think
yeah,
wakes
basically
up.
he goes down, and in the scuffle the engine of the engine of the ATV is damaged. He
Yeah,
that gets shot, and
right.
the ranger gets, I believe in the scuffle, he gets his neck broken, he gets paralyzed.
Yeah, he gets paralyzed because he pretty much can't fight back now, can he? He gets paralyzed. He gets dragged to where does he get dragged to? Oh,
He
the
gets
log
dragged to a
splitter,
woodshed where there is a creative kill machine,
creative kill
effectively.
machine. Yeah, and we spend a lot of time with him, like slowly dragging him there, putting his head on the log splitter, and like
Puts
the
his arm in
logs.
there first, pinches his arm off.
Oh yeah, yeah, pinches his arm off, and again because he's paralyzed, like he can't. He's not like screaming or anything.
He's
He's
just
kind of
kind of
just
lying
taking
there,
it.
sort of looking, and he just lays his arm in there, and it's brutal because you see they make a point of filmmakers of showing that a log gets split in it first, and it must just
Yeah.
be a real machine that exists.
Yeah, but this is just
Um,
like a fake arm or something getting put in there.
and then it
Yeah, is it happens
has his arm
slowly as
off.
well, right? That's what's so effective about it. It doesn't just go stunk. It kind of goes
Yeah,
poof.
he basically gets him like the Crusher in Star Wars when they go to that thing, like a thing, like it comes towards them ever so slowly until it pinches him and crushes them off. Yeah, it snips his arm off when he's unable to really
The
protest, and he
word
just
you're
puts
using
his
to describe the word you're
arm across
using to
them.
describe this pinches his arm off, snips his arm off. It
Yeah,
sounds incredibly quaint.
and then it ever so quickly just like has his head off as well. So basically, he's chopped up silently without menace. And it's almost more threatening that the
Yeah.
guy isn't able to scream and shout and go quietly. The fact that he has to just sit there while a machine silently chops his head off.
Yeah. It's incredibly effective. And again, it shows that Johnny isn't really that bothered about the old medallion, whatever it's called, the locket, because like he's letting him get away for a long time, like while he's just taking his time with this kill. Like it doesn't really make loads of sense, but we're like, yeah, he
I mean,
likes to kill him more. He likes the locket, I think.
this is a bit that kind of got me. I don't know what the our side characters, our victim characters were planning here because he pursues them into the woods and there is like a it looks like you see like it's the reverse of any other horror film. Now you see at some point the the teenagers, the characters in there, they're like creeping around behind him and trying to set up some kind of trap. But Colt makes the mistake of shouting at him when he's particularly close that hey you ugly mother, and then he just turns around and axes him right in the head.
I didn't understand why they weren't so much further away than they were. They kind of just ended there.
Were they
There's a
trying to
weird
make a
bit.
pact? I think they were trying to set up a bear trap that he would stand in, and then they were going to maybe set him on fire, but it just has gone wrong
Yeah.
because
Yeah, because
they have a
they
can of petrol and a
hang the
bear trap.
locket. That's right. They hang the locket on a gas canister and they're trying to bring him in.
Mhm.
There was a weird bit here where I feel like Chris tried to escape, running away, and then because after he bludgeons uh Colt's head, he like starts going at him, but like
Yeah,
for a ridiculous amount of time, turning
he's
him into
punching him to custard. Yeah,
punching him to custard. There's a bit where Chris runs away, but I swear she like ends up doing a circle and coming back on herself and
I
finding him
think
again.
I think this is another flash that we're meant to have some passage of time, and she's been running all night and has injured her leg at some
Oh
point.
yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if we were in some sort of like Blair Witch stuck in a time loop
Horrible time loop.
thing
But
going on.
yeah, and literally, like I kind of like this. It's a slow build and it's fairly abrupt. So as she sees Colt killed, she, in shock, puts abandons the idea of the trap, hangs the locket on the petrol can, and runs off into the woods. And by the time we see everything has ended for her, she is staggering, injured, and delirious down a road. A car pulls up. She gets into it, and she's with a lady who tells a story about how her brother survived a bear attack historically in the park and how, you shouldn't be underestimate how people can survive things. Um,
Yeah, it's a very odd note to end the film on, isn't it? Because I feel like for the entirety of this scene, you're like, okay, but now what?
is
Okay,
she going to
but
be like, I genuinely thought, is she going to be his mom? Is this going to be
is she
a
gonna be
Mrs.
the
Voorhees
Pamela
situation?
Voorhees situation? Is she gonna just stop and like she
Get
gonna drive him
killed?
back and give yeah, is he gonna be in the back seat? All stuff that made no sense. But then I thought the more and more time this scene went on, I'm like, it's gonna take him fucking ages to catch up with them now.
Yeah. And and
Ages.
and the reality is that he doesn't. So we get that tension where the driver of the car, she sees that Chris is kind of fading and passing out a little bit, and she stops to put a tourniquet on her leg. And all the
Yeah.
time she's doing it, Chris is looking out into the woods. And I was genuinely watching this. I thought it was going to be like the end of High Tension, where
Yeah.
someone was just going to turn up in the woods. I thought that you'd see her kneeling by the side of the car to apply the tourniquet, and all of a sudden, a big drag hook was going to get her in the head. And it
Yeah.
doesn't. Chris just looks out into the trees, expecting someone to come through, and then we go back to the scene where where the trap, where Colt has just been smashed to death with an axe earlier,
Yep.
The locket is gone, and we see no Johnny. We can only assume that he has returned
Where's
to
Johnny?
his place of rest.
Where's Johnny? Would you say that? Would you say that?
So there he
Um,
is when he turns up, but he doesn't.
it's a weird note to end the film on. It almost feels like the run out of ideas. But I also feel like there's so many other ways for us to end a film like this, on a much more of a brutal note. There's so much brutality in this film to kind of end it on this note, which was kind of more confusing more than anything. I think everyone involved was kind of confused. I was definitely confused. Everyone involved, sorry, but everyone watching must have been confused, thinking, okay, we're going to get this, we're going to get that, we're going to get some sort of ending which will completely confirm what's happened, maybe give us some more, I don't know. I don't know, anything. I feel like anything. I
Yeah,
just feel like it
it
was a
is.
very strange end
It is a
to the
very
film, wasn't
blunt
it?
end, and I would have thought, maybe just maybe a flicker. Maybe we could have seen, we're not sure we saw it, but maybe he is approaching in the bushes. Maybe you could have had her looking into the bushes, and then in a final view of the rear view mirror, you can see he's coming from another direction at the end.
Yeah.
Or, it is just it's over,
Yeah,
like for
I don't
now.
really know what was supposed to be represented by it. I understand that the discussion with like the bear attack was obviously there was going to be some parallels between Johnny and a bear, like as an
And it's just a
animal
nature thing. So like,
stalking
as if
its.
you disturb a bear, you might get attacked by a bear, but it isn't malicious. It's not following you. It's doing it
Yeah.
because of what
So
you've done to it. And it could just be a point of that's over now. You've escaped. He's not going to pursue you. It's not like a the ring ghost that's really petty. He's got his thing back and now
very
it's over
petty.
and he's gone. Um
So that
that's it.
yeah, that's it. That is in a violent nature. So yeah, maybe the title itself was in relation to that as well. Have you got any name game, Andy?
Got a couple for you if you like.
Okay, I got a couple as well. So
What's the
you be
what's the
sure.
synopsis?
When a locket is removed from a, I'm just going to say, I'm not even going to say that whole bit. It's ridiculous. A vengeful spirit is spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime, and he becomes hell bent on retrieving a locket. Give me that locket back, Elizabeth Duke.
So, um, a in this one, um, we depart the forests of beautiful Canada to a different set of beautiful forests. This time in Japan, where a woman dressed in ceremonial garb in a traditional outfit takes revenge for someone stealing her locket.
In a violent geisha.
And a violent geisha, very
Do,
good.
do you know why I knew that?
You had it as well.
I had it, but I didn't write it down for some reason. But that's good. Um, okay. A vengeful spirit, spurred on by a 60-year-old crime, his body is resurrected and becomes hell bent on retrieving a locket, but he stumbles into a strange resort where everybody is naked, old and naked as well, walking around in the nudie.
So they're old and naked. I was with you. I was gonna.
I
It's like
mean, the old bit is unnecessary. I've added it there because I'm trying to make an assumption.
you just profiling.
Profiling, yeah,
So is it a violent naturist?
correct. In a violent naturist resort.
Uh, okay. So in this film, um, when an amulet is taken, it's not a locket anymore. Now it's an amulet, imbuing it with magical powers.
Is
When
that
an
relevant?
amulet is taken, um, the natural order of things in the forest is disturbed. And not only does a vengeful spirit come to take revenge, everything's all bloody purple.
Everything's all purple. I bloody smashed my head and everything's gone purple. In a violet nature.
In a violent nature. Very good.
I, I had that written down as well, but I didn't know how I would be able to do it. Yeah. Okay. A vengeful spirit spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime. His body's resurrected and was hell-bent on retrieving it. He finds it incredibly easy to kill everyone, actually, because he's real great at sneaking up on people. He's got the softest footsteps ever, like little soft slippers on velvet
Does he have a silent nature?
in a silent nature. That's Johnny.
Let's have a look what else I've got here. Um, can't read my own handwriting at this point. This is a challenge, Ben. Um,
To be fair though, it was a bloody tough one. This was
it's
okay.
a tough one to get the rhymes. You got any more while I try and
A
decipher
vengeful
these
spirit,
hieroglyphs?
a vengeful spirit spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime, his body is resurrected and becomes hellbent on retrieving a locket. And all of his weapons, he's decided to make origami style. You've got a hatchet, origami, throws that. Got a hook, origami, jams that in,
Is
turns
it
someone into a pretzel.
is it a violent paper?
Correct. It's not really much of it's not really a rhyme, but I tried my best. In a violent paper.
Yeah, I think without going too obscure and really, really testing the limits of rhyme, I reckon that's all I've got for this week.
Testing the limits of rhyme. That's definitely something we definitely do on a weekly basis,
Yeah.
though, Andy, you know.
I mean, for a second, Ben, I mean, I will tell you what I've spared. I was like, could I get away with a description that ends up with a lion mint nature? And I was like, no.
A lion mint nature.
The king
Jesus
of the jungle's
Christ.
got terrible breath.
You know what we'll say? We'll get to the point where I say, Andy, that is utterly
Too far.
ridiculous.
So
Have a word with
I
yourself.
self-censored on that one.
Ruining the game. Okay, so let's rate the movie A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed. Rate good or rate bad. How would you like to rate In a Violent Nature?
I tell you what, Ben, I think as I was going, when I first watched it, I was a bit, you know, kind of torn. So I was like, I like this and it is really imaginative, but it was maybe a slow burn on a first watch. But again, having that time to digest a couple of days just to let that settle and
Mm,
thinking back on it, there was a lot of creativity there, and I did really enjoy it. And I think my appreciation has come up a little over time.
mm.
One thing I would say is, given my love of the slasher genre, I don't need a complete redo of this film. I'm not suggesting that they do anything differently, or I didn't agree with the choices of having it very silent, unsoundtracked. But I would love to see another cut of this film where they lean into those
A
horror
Schneider
tropes as
cut?
well. Not the Schneider
Yeah,
cut, never that. But
no.
what I would like is just an even more heavily stylized one, like this style of film, but with I want a film grain filter over the top
Oh,
of it.
yeah.
I want a an 80s soundtrack over the top of it, real synthy, like
Mm,
Camp Crystal Lake vibes. And then I want the characters to be made even bigger caricatures because they are fairly just innocuous people living their lives. I would like
yeah.
them to lean into genre even harder on
Mm.
this. And that would be an even more exciting film for me. But to come to review, I liked this a lot, and I think there's a lot of interest in this. I'm going to go a B plus on this one, Ben.
Very, very nice. Nice high rating for that bad boy. For Big Bad Johnny and his love of toy cars. I'm just going to go for a B. I think, to be fair, probably enjoyed, when talking about it, I realized how good it was. At the time, I was a bit like, okay, this is a slow burn. I get it. But perhaps I'm expecting a little bit more. I think the POV stuff was good. It could have been taken a step further. And the nasty streak, the real mean streak of this film, was there under the surface and came to the surface a couple of times. I kind of wanted it to be ever present. I think I would have taken another step. That being said, I could easily watch a film just like literally following him around. If the camera stayed in the same place behind him the whole time, and the kills we kind of see from his point of view and stuff. I could have easily watched that. I don't even feel like we needed the moments where we go into the campfire and talk
Hmm.
talk about the history, or we that I get it that the residual noise and him listening to people is good and is good for building that story and filling in the blanks of
You
the
had
the
nothing. You'd just gone
mythology.
in. You'd have just raw
Colin
dogged
ruled. We're gonna
that
we're gonna say
mythology.
we're gonna say raw dogged again for the third time in this show. I could have easily raw dogged because it's a new character. It's not a character that I really care all that much about knowing too much about, and then maybe that's cool. But that being said, stylistically it was great. That kill in particular probably took it up a notch for me. Like I could have
Yeah,
if that kill wasn't in it, I would have been rating this like B plus. Sorry, no,
just
other
already
way
gave it
around.
C
I've
plus.
I've been rating it like C plus something, but now I'm just gonna give it a B, straight B.
I feel like in a very this film could exist in a very similar world to Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, but a less talkative version of that. In a world where these serial killers just exist and they're an accepted part of life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I agree. There we
Oh,
go
there
then.
we go.
There we go. Um, so thanks for listening. What we got coming up next week? Jules
Classic.
3,
Yeah.
a classic and a summertime movie with special guest Oliver Harper. Before that, if you haven't heard of Oliver Harper, go and check out his YouTube channel. It's great for retrospectives, reviews, director's commentaries, all stuff like that. I've listened to tons of his stuff over the years. Going to be absolutely amazing to have him on the show. Looking forward to it. So yeah, if so thanks for listening. If you enjoy the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our patrons over there. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. You'll find us. And yeah, we'll see you next week for some Shark Attack action. And it's not you watch 3D, Jules 3D. I haven't
Yours
got
3D.
3D
Yeah,
TV.
get your glasses out with the red and blue cellophane
I'm sure I've got
over
some
them
of
if
them
you
knocking
could.
about.
Yeah,
Definitely.
get some out from your old dinosaur magazines and put them on.
Hell yeah.
Enjoy watching some Jaws 3D, everybody. In the meantime, though, um, I mean, Ben, I'll put this to you, see if you've learned anything from the course of this episode. If you find yourself walking through the forest, you find an amulet, what are you doing with it?
An amulet. I'm picking up an amulet.
Oh, no, not even an amulet, Ben. You leave it. That's what
That
binds the soul to
bloody
rest.
Tutankhamun or something's going to be coming after me if I pick up an amulet.
Yeah.
Amulet locket. I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. Honestly, I ain't picking up anything. Can't be asked. Can't be bothered. Can't be, what's
Can't
that?
even bend down.
Can't be bothered to bend down and pick it up. Can't be bothered to have that conversation with someone going, "Where'd you get that?" And I'll go, "Just found it." Can't be bothered.
Where did you get that
I
amulet, Ben?
Where do you get that amulet? Exactly. Don't do that. And for God's sake, don't do any yoga near a cliff edge. Don't do any yoga. Um, full stop. Don't offer someone out to stretch you out. That sounds weird. Don't
No.
offer someone out. A serial killer could hear it and take it literally. Don't do it.
Yeah, please don't do any of those things. But most importantly, leave those amulets where you find them. Right.
Definitely.
Good night,
Right.
everybody. See
Good
you
night.
next week for some chores. Bye.
Bye.